We're live. Welcome, y'all, to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, and y'all know if it's the fourth Friday, y'all know it's time for the disciples. Of course, they're going to be up first. Our Pastor Ali, we call him the Reverend in the Hood because he get real hood need to get. And then, of course, Reverend Roundtree, his running buddy, Councilwoman at large. And then, of course, our beloved Minister Haqq Muhammad. They're going to be up first at 6. And then, Zaid, what's coming up after that, my brother?
At 7 o'clock, somebody, a fabulous young poet who we know in the community as Mia X, is also a working force within the National Parents Union. This is a setup that Jonathan gave us, right? Known and her government name is Margie Johnson. She's going to tell us about her work with the National Parents Union and why that's important. And then we're doing a spotlight on the mighty ACLU of New Jersey with the sharp young organizer that I work with by the name of Jim Sullivan, right? And of course, we'll wind it up with our hip hop, the latest in the land of hip hop with our own DJ, our own greatest DJ of all time, DJ Rhino, at the end.
Yep. So, we see that our brother, beloved brother Minister Haqq Muhammad has joined us fresh off the hills of Savior's Day.
Brother, yeah.
We want to welcome the leader back and, go on and give the show over to the disciples.
Yes, sir.
Grace and peace be to you from God our Father, Lord Jesus Christ. This is the boy Pastor in the Hood, Ali, and I'm just glad to be here, glad to be alive and kicking, and thankful for just another time for the disciples to come together. And so glad that my is on. My sister, the Councilwoman, Reverend Louise Scot-Rountree is on. So I'm going to yield to Abdul Haqq Muhammad and her and let them.
Thank you, brother Pastor Ali. I'm going to yield to Reverend Councilwoman Roundtree. I'm going to yield to her.
Listen, Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Happy Ramadan, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad.
Thank you so
much.
What's
going on to you and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and my beloved Muslim family? Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. I'm just coming from Senator Rice's wake. Believe it or not, I left here at 5:30 because I was like, I might as well wait until in the morning because I'm sure there's going to be a long line. Well, Tracy Tisdale called and she said, Roundtree, come now. And I just asked God to get me back by 6 o'clock in my office. So good evening, good evening, good evening. And I'm so excited to be on with my disciples on the number one hip hop political radio station with none other than the producer Ed Riley. I'm hanging out with Baba. I'm hanging out with my big brother, Pastor in the Hood, and my son for life, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad. I know we got a great show. I got to find out what happened to Minister Brother Pharaoh, who's supposed to be on tonight, talking about how many tickets he's going to give pertaining to Gospel Fest with the Clark sisters and all of these other magnificent gospel artists, Pastor Jamal Bryant. They're coming. We're going to do that next, Minister.
Clark sisters.
Yes.
Clark sisters coming this way.
Stephanie Mills, too. Come on here. Listen.
Before y'all get started, I'm going to tell Roundtree, I'm going to take a snippet. She keep that number one, and I'm going to trademark it. Keep it up. and then you're going to wonder, you're going to say, Ed, own that? Yeah.
Better trademark it because when I was working for credit doctors, there was this little short, bald-headed guy that used to say, yes. Come on down to the credit doctors. Yes. So you better trademark it.
Keep it up. You think I'm playing? Keep it up.
No, I'm not playing. So I have to say, thanks to Brother Ed Riley. There's a statement I have to make, and that is, this is the number one, and give you the rights to that statement. I didn't create this, but it is. Listen, it is what it is. It's a fact. AP, APAL, all politics, are local, belongs to you by way of Ed Riley sharing it with the people and those that you invite to discuss current issues of today, circumstances of today, their issues, your issues, everybody's issues. And then he decided to have a conversation with Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad and realize that faith has an important part of the community. So that was brilliant, Mr. Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Brother Ed, a brilliant. I mean, he's a lawyer by trade, but he just an all around good.
All around.
Been on the battlefield been on the battlefield for a very long time, serving our people. You know, he's been in the struggle. He's been in the movement.
And I'm on mute.
This ain't about me. Now.
He's been in a, you've been in a struggle.
Take a love while you can get it, Ed. A lot of us don't get it.
Man. No, we can't speak enough of Brother Ed Riley. And a lot of our people probably don't know Brother Ed's pedagogy and how he, produced that magazine. He's been around on a lot of sets, helping our people out in terms of the struggle for liberation, freedom, justice, and equality behind the scenes. All praises due to God. But thank you again, Brother Ed. Thank you.
By the way, Pastor, go ahead. You guys know when you saw that, we had to give it a...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Pastor Ali White, that was her. Just put the
Yes,
shout out.
sir. Yes, sir.
Always, the minister said, not behind every good man is a good woman, beside every good man is a good woman.
Hold on. I got to say something. The woman got to say something. The woman got to say something because they say we was taken from the rib. Now the bodies I see in the structure of the rib is, like you got a rib here, you got ribs that go all the way around. So there's no side, there's no back, there's all around that we cover our brothers.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Yes. I know sometimes y'all be dragging some of us too, because
that's right.
Bring your behind up here.
I'm sorry.
They've been dragging us for a long time.
I think we owe homage to our Senator Rice, the late senator. I was processing. I went down to the funeral home early, and I was processing as I was waiting in line to go through, and they was like, "Did I want to go up to the front?" All that. I said, "No, I wait my turn." And I thought about when I looked at his remains, but then when I saw his son, Ron Rice, and as he was being celebratory with people and stuff like that, and I thought about the challenges when we die, people will come out the woodwork, but when we live, they won't support us. And not nothing to do with him, but I just thought about that was that's very apropos that people will support you once you're dead, and they will act like they love you. And I mean, there was people in Roundtree can attest to this, people from all walks of life. I saw it there at 4:00, and I thought about when Ron, our former colleagues came through, some of them with Pat Council and all them. And I just thought about, I met Ron back in I was 70, I want to say the 80s. I was working at the Holiday Inn, and we had some thefts down there. He's working for the Newark Police Department at the time. And he was undercover trying to stop the thefts. And I thought about that from that point on and how he produced in life. And as we was talking about earlier, as we age, what is our production in life? What will our legacy be? And that's what I'm thinking about now at 64. I'm more concerned about legacy for me. What will I leave behind? Not so much to people, but to my children and my children's children, my children's children's children, because I have great-grands. And I'm working on that legacy now, and that's what I'm preoccupied with. What will I leave behind? Because when I thought about Ronald Rice, I looked at all the stuff they had set up from football and stuff like that, and people were walking through, and not many people were talking about him. More people were celebrating seeing each other. But I thought he brought all of us together, and I said, my God, during this time of illness and everything, how that would have empowered him if that many people would have came together to encourage him.
Well,
let me
that's
tell
a great
you something. Let me go ahead, Haqq. But I'm going to come back. Go ahead. Let me use some of the spiritual wisdom of our ancestors, since this is our faith segment. It's called Iwa Pele, right? The importance of the cultivation of character. One of the things that I'm very proud to say about that black man, especially for the the realm that he worked in terms of elected space, right, in a gangster state like New Jersey, right, is that his name ain't never been associated with no mess. Right? Okay.
Just say it. Don't say mess. Say scandal free.
Name had never been associated. His name ain't never come nowhere near no mess. Right. And and he was a stand-up, but let me say this, right? Where I really wanted to get at, right? And to your point, Ali, is this, right? On the battlefield for police accountability, reigning in these wild police beating the hell out of us and killing our kids, right? Ron Rice, former police officer, you just lifted him up doing work when he was still on the force, right? Former police officer, right, was the sponsor of the New Jersey Senate version of the civilian oversight bill.
That's right.
It was the strongest of the two versions, and he wasn't afraid of nobody's police unions and their racism, none of that, and a whole lot of folks amongst them Democrats. I mean Democrats, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Them Democrats didn't have the courage to stand with him, and I'm talking about quite a few of the black ones too.
That's the story about people
willing to stand on his square as a matter of principle, because that's the kind of character the man had. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
he
sir.
would play for days. I salute the OG for real.
Yeah, I mean, always, brother. Pastor Ali, you made a great point. And the Bible talks about in Job 7:9, as the cloud is consumed and vanisheth away, he that go down to the grave shall come up no more. Then it says in Job 14:12, so man lieth down and riseth not to the heavens be no more. They shall not awake nor be raised out of their sleep. And it's something about leadership after they pass, where we celebrate them. We see that white America has become the greatest practitioners of this. We see Malcolm got a stamp. We see so many of our leaders that, they lied on, that they maligned, that, they, tried to kill them. Some they did kill them. They destroyed their movements. And then we see after that leader dies, they sanitize their message and make their message non-threatening and give them back to the public and say, here, you can go, here he is, follow him or follow her. But when that person was present, when they were on the scene, America, they did everything that they can do to thwart, to lie, and to discredit that particular leader. And then they give them to us when the leader is no longer around to make a demand on the people that claim to love him. So it's easy to follow leadership that's no longer present because he or she is not asking you to do anything. And we know that Ron Rice, as you said, was a man of character. He was a man of strength. He was a man of morals. He was a man of vision and progression. And he was always trying to rally our people to stand up and to fight. So he made demands on us, but now he's not here to make demands on us per se. So it's easy to say, Ron, we loved him. But when he was here, were we trying to aid him and assist him in getting justice, freedom, and equality for our people? And when you look at the road, a lot of times there were many who wasn't. So that's something that we see often, particularly with Black leadership, in particular in Black leadership in general.
Indeed, son. Indeed. I'm glad y'all started lifting him up too. Of course, the service.
I mean, we have to because again, he was a man that exuded strength. When you saw him, I mean, always was a no nonsense man. Absolutely. Never was about the frolicking around. When you saw him, you knew he meant business. He had that stern, he was always stern, clean, sharp. Yep. Ready to take on corruption, whatever it may be. So we thank God much for him, and we celebrate his life. We ask that Almighty God will lift the burden of sorrow from his family hearts, and that again, we would take and draw from the principles that Ron Rice lived by. That's right. That he fought for. Again, you don't find men like him every day, particularly in the political realm, as you said, Brother Zion, in a place like New Jersey that's known for corruption. So again, men like him come every so often. And we thank God that he blessed us with a man such as our brother. And we pray that again, we learn from him and that we draw and take from the best of him and all that he did.
That's right.
And one of the great things about him was we didn't always agree. We agreed to disagree. But the thing is, Ronald, he never treated you no different. Even after the disagreement, he would laugh, he would joke. I met him in many different forms, behind the scenes and stuff like that. He was always a straight up brother. You knew what he meant, you knew what he stood for, and he didn't compromise. You know, if he felt strongly about something, no matter what you laid out before him or how much you disagreed, he said, well, you still my brother. I just don't agree with that. But I'm going to stay with my frame. You stay with your frame. And we're going to see how we're going to work the frames together. But I used to see him at the Paradise Church all the time where his family and them belonged. And he was always the leader. He was always the forerunner. And like I said, he stood to his convictions. And even when his sickness came, he did not hide. Even in the wheelchair, he was still smiling. He was still showing up. He couldn't show up no longer.
Yes, Lord. There he is.
We give thanks. We give thanks. You guess it's
coming. We give thanks. But you know what I'm excited about in this era of my life, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad? It's young men like you and OGs like Senator Ron Rice who has helped me to establish the activism in my belly. I remember saying not long ago, maybe it was on this show, maybe it was somewhere else. Someone said to me, I don't know where I was, and they were like, oh, ma'am, where you been? And I was like, it doesn't matter where I've been for the last 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, or 5 years. What matters is that I'm here now. So if I just started protesting and walking and marching 10 years ago, at least I've been doing it for the last 10 years.
That's
and
right.
I plan to do it until God calls me from labor to reward. Because there are people that did this for me to be where I am when I had no clue. There are people like Ron Rice that had no issue speaking truth to power, had no issue going in a room. And whether you liked it or not, he said, I'm black and I'm proud, and what you going to do about it? And so, you know, I heard a lady say a tribute to him. When they did the tribute down in Rutgers not long ago, the Black Legislative Caucus, she said when she first got down to the State House, she said she walked in the room and she was at some event. I don't want to tell it wrong, but I'm gonna get this part right. She said she heard this man get up and talk about black people, black people, black people. She said she looked around the room. She said, "Oh my God, it's okay to say black people," you know, because he was just that person that would say whatever it was that needed to be said at the time it needed to be said. And whether you agreed or did not agree, 100% of the time, it was in the best interest of a cause, of a bill, of a fight, of a person, of an individual. And so Lady Belina Ali, which I know the first lady of this generation is always tuned in. Your husband is one of those folks too. I say he's not the only one that God called to stand on the corner with a bullhorn. We needed some people in the State House that would get on the bullhorn and say some things too. So as we pay tribute to Senator Ronald L. Rice tonight, as they are viewing him on this evening, many legislators are there, many family members are there. We surely pray for his son and his daughter and the grandchildren and all of us who are affected by someone who was in the State House that didn't have a problem going to the White House or even your house and saying what he needed to say for the sake of our people. And so I'm thankful to God that someone came back from Vietnam, that someone served in law enforcement, that someone served on the North Municipal Council, that someone decided to go down to Trenton and say, I can't do it all in Newark, because whatever happens in Trenton going to affect Newark too. So yeah, I'm thankful and grateful that I got a chance to witness, be by his side in some instances, and see the works to set an example for some of what we should do. And that's why we're here, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad. You're a much younger man. Some of us are here to carry that mantle to make sure the unfinished work is carried on. And there's somebody going to carry it on for us if we lay the groundwork right. You know, they're going to carry it on, and we have to make sure that we prepare those people. That's why I keep saying preparing of the next generation. We've got to make preparation for the next generation. You know that the Jewish community will never forget the Holocaust, but we forget about 400 and 500 and 2,000 years ago. We don't even want to talk about our children. They're trying to kill the history now. They're trying to act like, okay, no, none of this happened, and we don't want you to talk about it, so let's just take it out of the curriculum. You know, somebody told me the other day, Pastor Ali, that they was it in Florida. The guy said they don't want, they spread in the room the narrative that Rosa Parks wasn't black. I mean, like, what in the world?
Yeah, and Texas say our ancestors were immigrants.
Yeah,
Listen,
I come back from Florida, and this one thing I was to say,
Fight them at every turn.
Son, speak for me. In my grave, there's nothing left. Yeah.
Sound like you speak in Spanish. What's going on?
Something going on with his connection.
Yeah.
Right. Done. Yeah.
Ali, we having some trouble with your audio.
Your audio.
Yeah.
It sound like you speaking in tongues.
Sound like he was trying to scratch.
Now he was either scratching, speaking in tongues, or another language, some type of code.
Go out and come back in.
You know what, Ali? You may have to go out and come back in.
Well, yes, sir.
How many years have we been doing this, Minister Abdul Haqq? Do you remember our very first show?
I can't, Brother Ed. You probably would be.
Y'all got to go back in the archives, because you know what? We're going to have to do a celebration show and invite the Honorable Minister Farrakhan on, and invite. We got to do a celebration. We got to, you know, in this era, Baba, that we're in, you know, our elders are not going to always be with us. Heck, elders, you ain't got to be
in May.
Wait, hold on. You don't even have to be an elder not to be here these days. They leaving here at 18, 19, 20. I'm just saying. So I'm just trying to be proactive and say we need to bring on, you know, some representatives maybe for a month, not the whole month, but our show. Maybe you can dedicate maybe an hour and a half as opposed to 2 hours. And let's just have some guests on to celebrate our 7th year, because I'm sure we're somewhere up there, you know, and have some people speak to the times. I mean, when you have, you know, young men with mental illnesses that are asking for help, and someone busts up in the house and don't want to talk them down, and the next thing you know, they're having a funeral for somebody because they didn't take the patience that they took with the white veteran. And I'm not listening. It ain't about white and black to me. It's about right and wrong. It's about the just God that we serve. And the truth is, you'll take somebody to Burger King after they shot 9 people, but you bust up in somebody's house that's texting for help.
Don't get me started on that one.
I don't know what's going
on.
That
one is real personal to me. Don't get me started on that one.
It's personal to me too. You know why it's personal to me? It's just as personal to me. Never mind knowing whether you know the family, connected to the friends, know about somebody that loved them, knew somebody that loved him, knew the work that he did was just the same work that you did, Baba. All of that's very personal. But what's more personal is that I have a son.
No, that's right.
I have a 28-year-old son. So every time
that's right,
I think of a young man and a sister that an injustice has been done to that could have gone another way. But because of the senseless, insensitive, thoughtlessness, and there's a whole lot of words I can add to it. And before I take any of them back, I'll add some more to them that are being done to our young people.
That's right.
When I go and speak to a group of kids and they can't think about what they're going to be doing at 22 because they don't even know if they're going to be alive.
That's right.
Wrong thought pattern.
That's right.
That's sad.
That's right.
That's so sad. So it's personal to me too, because every time my son leaves the house, I pray different. Lord, cover him and every boy out there. Cover his friends. My prayers at night are not just for my son, because now I feel like every young man out there, whether I gave birth to him or not, is my son.
That's right. That's right.
Every daughter. When I speak to the girls in the schools, I spoke
Reclaim the village.
Exactly. I spoke to 50 girls today, 25 and 25, all 12th graders. And when I spoke to them, I came to tears at the end of one of my speeches, or I should say presentations, because I thought about me. I had to remind them, look, I was your age one time. And like one of the girls was like, when I was talking, saying, I wonder how she know these things. And I overheard, I said, because I was your age one time. So don't think that what you're doing is anything new. But what we're doing that's new is everything is now status quo. We're not coming together on a larger number. And I don't think there'll ever be a show that I will not say this. And I don't know if people like it or not, but I'm not really concerned about what people like. I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to make a difference. So I will always bring up Honorable Minister Farrakhan. I will always bring up Martin Luther King and how they were able to bring together 250,000 people in Washington and the Million-Man March. Those two things were so profound. We want to bring together 50 people. I don't give us 50 or 5 as long as you're saying something. But when are we going to get to the point where we say, okay, we did all of this to get voting rights. We did all of this for this. We did all of this for that. And this is what it took to do that. But we just can't get it back together to get those numbers. So you have small groups of people just going out every week trying to make a difference because we as a people so worried about who's at the front of the line, we're not even thinking about who's in the line trying to help us.
That's right.
I'm done.
You're rolling today.
Reverend today. And we got our brother Curtis Farrow on here.
I know.
No. It's good. It's good. I was just waiting to get in the meat of it. My mother taught me well. When the chicken is good, just sit back, enjoy, and be quiet.
That's right. And the Bible talks about.
I need something to break fast with.
But I will say this to add to what you're saying. All of you here, every word that I've heard so far, it's so amazing to me that I'm constantly telling people across not only the country, but around the world, the same things are still going on in Africa. They're still going on all over the world. And we have to get back in the business of encouraging each other.
That's right.
We have gotten totally out of the business of encouraging one another. And so therefore, our community boundaries are no more. We had a boundary. We used to could see each other and say, hey, how are you? Without knowing each other. Have you noticed now that when we pass each other, we don't speak?
That's right.
That's not how I was raised. And that's not how I saw my mother act. That's not how I saw my grandparents act. We don't acknowledge each other, but we don't, we're not putting forth the effort that we need to come together, on one accord. To come together. We don't have to agree about everything, but we have to agree about life.
Yeah.
And what our life means and what we've done to make even this country. You know what I mean? We look at the young people and we say to them, they should be doing things, but what are we doing to help?
What examples are we setting?
What examples are we setting? We get in a position and then we don't even train the young people to take over. Look at how many of our leaders, I can tell you right now, there's so many of our leaders, they die, and guess what happens?
Everything dies with them.
It dies with them.
Right.
It dies with them because we're so afraid of territory. This thing about territory, it's our territory.
We're going to keep it until we die.
Right. It doesn't make sense. Right. And it's such a simple process. There is power in numbers.
That's right.
Yep. There is power in numbers. And for some reason, I don't know what it is, but I will tell you this. I'm just going to show you this as an example. And I don't mean this as a negative, and I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. But to give you an example, I produced and did the Queen Sister Aretha's homegoing service. And when I got to the church, there was someone who had put the seats together of who was going to be on the pulpit. And when I got there, I looked at everybody and they had all of the leaders were pretty correct, but there was no chair and I didn't see the name of Minister Farrakhan and I knew he was coming. And so I called his security up and because I communicate with the security all the time. And I called the security and I said, isn't Minister Farrakhan coming? They were like, of course, he's here. I was like, okay. So then I said, hey, you got to put another chair up here. Minister Farrakhan has to be up here with all of these leaders. And someone said, yes, but he's not on the program. I said, no, him sitting here, he's on the program.
I know that's right.
So my point being is that we all have to step back in the place of respect, encouraging one another, and knowing that if we don't say something, nothing's going to ever happen. The people don't want us to say anything. They don't want us to communicate. And that's why I keep saying the boundaries that we're letting go, the simple boundaries that stay in place by us just communicating with each other and staying on one accord and producing in numbers. That is our boundary. That is our fence that we put up so that we can move forward. And we don't have to agree on anything. When you look at Martin, when you look at, when you look at Muhammad, they all didn't agree on anything, but you never saw them really come out against each other.
Yep.
That's right. And the brother makes a good point in reference to just the lack of communication that we have in our communities. I've been to rallies, Reverend Roundtree. I've been to meetings where we were talking about stopping the violence. Yeah. And at those very stop the violence meetings, nobody would embrace. If I didn't know this individual, we wouldn't speak to one another. I said, we're here at a meeting to talk about methods that we can implement on how to stop the violence. And the first thing that we can do is greet each other. Yes. And introduce ourselves to one another, because that's one of the, I would say, detriments, of the self-hate, the self-deprecation and self-loathing that we as a people suffer from. The inferiority complex causes us to take an aggressive stance with those that look like us. So oftentimes it translates in us not speaking to one another, because we really fear ourselves, and we fear those that remind us of ourselves. So when we see ourselves, we don't speak to ourselves. But the African proverb says that if the child is not embraced by the village, the child will burn the village down
just to feel the warmth. That's right.
And we don't show love, and we don't show tranquility, we don't show concern, then how could we really be a community? Correct. The root word of community is common and unity. And we do have more in common than we have that's different. We're suffering under the same injustices, the same poverty. Yes, some of us may have a little bit more education than others. Some of us may have a little bit more money than others. But when it boils down to it, we're all suffering from the same struggles.
That's right.
And we really have to stop participating and joining the chorus or the choir whenever we see one of our Black leaders being berated and belittled and maligned and lied on. Again, we don't agree with everything, but we have to look at the bigger picture. We have to look at the bigger picture, and if we settle our differences, and a lot of times our differences are over nothing but pettiness and disagreements, both times. So there's much that we have to do socially and emotionally as a people. And Reverend Roundtree talking about mental health, and is that even attainable in a country like America that was built and designed on the destruction of our health?
That's right.
So for Black people in America, it's been mental good enough health. Just enough health to make it to see another day, or to wake up, or to go to work. And it's good enough health, because every day we are constantly being bothered with images that invalidate us. Images that tells us we're ugly. Images that tells us that we have not contributed anything to society. Images that's constantly degrading our women and degrading our children. Ooh. So again, you're talking about mental
and we're supposed to be accepting it too.
No.
Yeah. See. And then you see, this is why in 1832, Henry Berry at the Virginia House of Delegates said, "We have far as possible closed every avenue by which light might enter the slave's mind. That's right. If we could extinguish their capacity to see the light, they then would be reduced to the beasts of the field, and we would be safe." So they never wanted us to be psychologically fit in order to love ourselves and what to do for ourselves.
So who does that fall on, Minister? Who does that fall on? You know who that falls on?
All of us.
It falls on us. You know why? Right. Because when I go, one of the first messages I start off with these sisters, and I've been doing it since almost 10 years now, but I stopped for a minute. I just started back. One of the first things I have them say, and I make them say it loud. And then I got to really, you know, they say repetition is the mother of learning. So some of them might not believe it when I first say it. They might think it's cute. But I tell them, I'm sitting in a room with heavy girls, thin girls, hair girls with their hair on fleek, girls with their hair not so done. But the truth of the matter is we got to start looking at each other because God is no respecter of persons.
That's right.
So we got to start sending that message that all of you are beautiful because all of you are made in the image of God. So I don't care if your weave costs $500 or your weave costs $2. The truth of the matter is, I tell them all, you are no better than the other. And what you got to do is respect your sister. Before you can respect your sister and love her, you got to love you. So my message is totally, I'm not walking out of a room of girls that I'm going to now. Back on the road with going into these schools, I'm not doing it. When I left the room today, these girls, a couple of them was almost in tears because then I took them back and I started telling my mother's story. And I'm not going to do that here. But I started telling that story because for a woman to have come through the era of the 30s and when the 40s, when racism, we think we deal with racism now. Yes, we are. It's still here. But imagine in the 1800s, the 1900s, early 1900s, into the 50s and 60s, you know, same thing. And then this woman pushed her way through. I told them, you got the world on your hand in this device, but the truth of the matter was in your head can't nobody take. So you do everything you do to get that and don't worry about what they see on the outside, because what on the outside will fade away. What comes out your mouth is what will make you beautiful. I don't care how you look. You can be a cussing fool with pretty straight hair and green eyes and a body fit like Beyonce and be the ugliest thing on this planet Earth when you open your mouth because what's coming out of it is garbage. I said, but what you have in here, if you use it for your, I said, and I tell him straight up, don't let him tell you nothing because him not going to always be there. Him might do your nails now, but if you don't know how to pay to get your own nails done, there's going to be a problem. So when I say it falls on us, the messages should be to all of them because we got to start impounding that. You can do this on your own. You're beautiful by yourself. You're great by yourself. You can be all of these things on your own. And the only thing getting in your way is you, because we've been conditioned to believe that we can't do it, that we look bad. If our hair is nappy, we ain't right. If we overweight, something's wrong with us. We're not normal. But what you have up here and what you have in your pocket can go through a Lord. Look, our money matters, honey. They say our lives matter. The Farrakhan and a few other folks, been trying to tell us for a long time, Black Friday, keep your money in your pocket, see the difference it makes. If you could imagine how the African-American dollar stayed in the community like the Jewish dollar does, imagine what we could have. But no, we'll be the first to go out there and stand in long lines to buy a pair of sneakers that somebody else going to become a millionaire off of. I'm just saying.
I know Reverend treating. But it's all tied in.
You say for real. Oh yeah,
and it's all tied in. It's all tied in, you know, because as a people, man, we all need to be loved. We all need to belong, and we need the human needs. And behind every behavior, there's a need, and behind every need, there's an emotion.
Yes.
And as a people, we've always wanted to be recognized, and in getting that recognition, it brings about that status. And we know that our oppressors have always have had this ascribed status, meaning that their status came with their skin color. You understand? But we always wanted to achieve the status that they've been ascribed. And the way that we sought to do that is by becoming conspicuous consumers, where we think that we are going to purchase our way into status. So a lot of times our self-worth is anchored in what kind of car we drive, what kind of house we have. You understand? What kind of
values in the wrong place.
And there's nothing wrong with having those nice things, but when you don't have the knowledge of who you are innately, when you don't know that you was born with self-worth, then you start looking for externals to give you value. Right. You start looking at your social or your market value.
Absolutely.
So you only feel valuable if you drive a certain car, you wear a certain type of cologne, or if you have a certain type of hairdo. You need
to get a number of likes on Instagram.
Come on, brothers, Baba.
You become extrinsically motivated. Yeah, you become extrinsically motivated, meaning that you now motivated by praise, prestige,
yes,
money, those external things, because you're void of something on the inside of you. You're void of that esteem. You're void of a proper self-concept. And we know that our people are suffering, you know, from these debilitating social issues. But all we must keep doing is striving to teach, be an example, setting up institutions and facilitating, you know, this type of dialogue as best we can. And I want to say just about our brother Curtis Farrell, who was talking about mental health. And I say our brother is a big part of that, because what he does with the gospel fessing, that's important. And we know that during our darkest days of slavery, it was those Negro spirituals and those times that got us through. We know it was the blues, and this came from our pain, you know, from the loss of life that we was experiencing, the suffering that we was experiencing. So sometimes the word that we heard from that song helped us get through. So what our brother is doing and has been doing is very important and is very profound. And we are happy that you're here with us, brother. And we thank God that he has inspired you to keep what you're doing going, because our people need it. Is there a bomb in Gilead? Yes, it's Brother Curtis Farrell, and he's been giving it to us, healing the sin-sick soul, making us know, man, I can go another day when you hear that song. Oh my goodness. and in the mosque, we don't necessarily.
When you get that from the Brother Curtis, enjoy that.
That's our tradition.
Thank you, Brother Abdul. I don't need to say nothing else.
That's our tradition.
So let me.
Hey man, Brother Ed, right? Listen. So wait a minute, he getting ready to introduce you, but listen. When I said the Clark sisters, right? I mentioned the Clark sisters coming on.
Oh yes, those are
and
my
I mentioned they was like the Clark sisters. I said, guess what? Stephanie Mills too. They was like, what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you tell them the rest of the people.
Can I
Brother Farrell?
Let you produce it.
Brother Farrell, say one thing, because Abdul, you said something that I want to make sure people understand.
Brother Farrell.
Yes.
I just want to. You've been sitting there 45 minutes. I'm getting texts saying, "Why don't you tell us who this brother is?" So that we can get, and then you can finish. Right, because you're getting all these accolades. Well, who the hell is he? So let me just tell y'all this: 2023 marks the 25th year. Mr. Farrell has joined with McDonald's to bring this phenomenal celebration of life. He has received 3 Emmy Awards for producing and directing McDonald's Gospel Fest 2001, 2000, recently in 2021. Along with 14 nominations in 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19.
You read this whole Bible.
Of 2014, Mr. Farrell fulfilled a long-time dream by organizing and leading 1,171 voices to break the Guinness World Record for world's largest gospel.
And we did that in Symphony Hall.
He has since produced a 2,000 voice choir at Madison Square Garden and a 5,000 voice choir at the Nassau Coliseum. He was responsible for the organization, planning, and execution of the homegoing service for the late Whitney Houston, and he produced a homegoing service that he referred to of the late Aretha Franklin, which was seen around the world. Mr. Farrell credits everything in his life, and this is important, y'all, to his strong belief in God.
Amen.
Mr. Farrell.
Thank you. Wow. I didn't know I was going to come into this. This is good stuff. I don't need to say anything else. Well, I'm humbled. I'm honored, especially to be on with all of you here, and I just love the fact that we are with this program, the coming together on one accord to talk about the future, to talk about what we are and where we need to go and how we can do it. People look at the Gospel Fest and they say to me, I know Roundtree knows this up close and personal, but it's not easy. We used to be at Madison Square Garden, and I decided to bring it to Newark. And when I first brought it to Newark, people were not happy. A lot of even the pastors in Newark weren't happy. And they kept saying, there's no way you can, there's no way you can fill up that arena with a gospel show. And people don't realize that we were the first concert and show at the Prudential Arena in that new building. There was only the Devils, the hockey team, and we were the first concert out the box in that arena. We opened that arena.
Wow.
And the people came out, and they come out every year. And I tell people it's the reunion of us coming together. And I pray on it. I go to that arena. I touch every seat in that arena. My staff, myself, my friends, even those prayer warriors, they call me and say, I want to come and pray with you. We walk through we have already been doing it over 2 weeks, and it's not until May 13th. We will continue to keep making preparation because we want folks to feel God's love when they come into that place. And what makes it so important for me is that I really am about, we have to get back to the business of encouraging each other.
That's right.
We don't support each other.
No,
And Minister Rountree knows me. She knows that even on the street, I am one of those people where if I heard somebody talk about, people don't turn around and bring your brother with you or bring your sister with you. Well, my grandmother and my mother taught me very different.
That's right.
They taught me very different. They taught me that my life would not be good if I don't turn around.
That's right.
And help those who may not even, I won't even say they're less fortunate, but who may just need a hand. Yeah. They may just need a hug. And that is my business. And that's why I do that. That's why I do the Gospel Fest. We do the Gospel Fest because we really want to celebrate the culture, celebrate the music.
That's right.
And make us think about the rhythms of our lives, the rhythms of our unity, the rhythms of our being, the rhythms of our neighborhoods, the rhythms of who we are and where we come from. When I go to Africa, the first time I went to Africa, the plane landed and I cried. I cried. And but because I cried because my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents, they instilled in me that, this is my home here in the U.S., but they instilled in me there's a legacy for me to uphold. And that legacy, I can't know that legacy, uphold that legacy without turning to that wonderful continent that everybody wants to rob, that everybody wants to steal. There's a reason everybody wants a piece of that continent.
Make it plain, sir.
So to look back and to know that all of our rhythms, all of our arts, all of us, it's the foundation of who we are. That's what Gospel Fest is a celebration of. It's a celebration of who we are. And it's not for just us, it's to share it to the world. That's why we get folks that come from Japan. We get folks that come from Italy. We get folks that come from Korea. They come from all over because it's contagious. It's contagious. And guess what? It belongs to us. We're always complaining that something is taken from us, but it's only taken from us because we become not interested in it anymore, because we don't understand what we have.
That's right. That's
so
right.
I say thank you so much for
the
conversation we've had
today. Gotta know your value. What is share?
Yes, you got to know your value. Absolutely. I thank you so much for having me here today. And this
we're going to talk about the show a little bit.
I pulled this out because people never believe I really have to. Can you all see it?
Yeah, we see it. We see the wings.
Wait, I'm
put
going
it in your
face.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. Am I here? There we go.
Wow.
Right there.
Beautiful, right?
That's right.
So and I just happened to have this in the box because one of the Black McDonald owner-operators the other day said in the big meeting of all of the owner-operators, she was like, you know what, you should bring that Emmy that you just won in so that everybody can hold it and see it and really see that it's real. And that's why it's right here. Otherwise, it would be in the case, or I would send it to my mother because really don't nobody really care. I send almost every award to my mom because she's the one who cares the most.
Yeah.
You know, I'm waiting for a greater reward.
That's the mic dropping for Women's History Month. Yes, sir. We ain't
Yes,
talking about our mothers, boy. I make
Yes.
it
You
Amen.
want to talk about the show a little bit, brother?
Well, it's Mother's
What? You
Day.
want to
It's
listen?
Mother's Day weekend, Saturday, May 13th. The conversation has been so deep that I feel like I'm making light of the conversation by talking about the show. But
no,
you know
sir,
what?
brother.
It's Mother's Day weekend, Saturday, May 13th, at the Prudential Arena in Newark, New Jersey. And we have Stephanie Mills. She's going to be backed by a 200-voice choir. She is going to sing Home. And she's going to do, a lot of people don't know that Stephanie Mills was the lead on Sweeping Through the City years ago. You know, here we go, sweeping through
the city where my captain has gone on before, and we're gonna sit down by the banks of the river. I tell you that I won't be back. No more. See you later.
So she's going to be
Sample
singing
some of that, y'all.
Yeah, she's going to be singing that along with the 200-voice choir. So we're going to have a good time. Hezekiah Walker and Love Fellowship, what can you say? Every praise. And then, of course, we're going to have a word. You know, every year I always have a word in there. And Dr. Jamal Bryant is going to do the word this year. Vicki Winans is coming back as we celebrate 40 years. The great Vicki Winans. Byron Cage, and there's many more that we're going to announce.
And the Clark sisters.
The Clark sisters, my sisters, the Clark sisters. The children of Mattie Moss Clark, who is the
girls.
Clark. Yes, she was the vessel, as Minister Farrakhan said about Sissy Houston, when we during the homegoing. A lot of folks don't know that the homegoing of Whitney Houston. See, I'm letting y'all know some secrets, right? I gave y'all one secret from Aretha. Now I'm giving you a secret. A lot of folks don't know that Minister Farrakhan came in, and he came to the New Hope Baptist Church before the services. He came that Sunday, and he came and had a private meeting with Sissy. Yes,
wow.
And Pastor Carter at the New Hope. And he told her, he goes, I'm here to see the vessel. That was a mighty word. He was like, because the vessel is where that gift came from. You know, it was mighty. So yes, so we're going to be Saturday, May 13th at the Prudential Arena. It is going to be, I tell everybody, on that day, the Prudential Arena is not going to be the Prudential Arena. It's going to be the worship center. So come and be a part of it. And the Devils play there. They play ice hockey there. But on the Saturday, on May 13th, Mother's Day weekend,
we're going to melt that ice on the May 13th.
Yes, all of the angels are coming together, and there won't be any devils there, I promise.
That's right. Put the devil on the side. That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, I love that.
We are taking over, and the devils will not be there.
And that's excellent, brother Pharaoh. We can't thank you enough for your hard work and your dedication, your consistency. And we just thank you, brother, for inspiring us and encouraging us in the way that you do. You know, the Bible talks about a diversity of gifts.
That's right.
You know, and you've been blessed and anointed with the gift that helps our people, that helps thousands of our people, millions of people, a gift that we need. And you said, I don't want to make light. No, this is not making light, brother. Right. Because it's what those individuals that you have coming to, you know, express their God-given gifts that have gotten some of our people, many of our people through some of their darkest days there, brother. So we can't never not be grateful and thankful for you and all that you have done. And we appreciate you, brother. And by God's grace, we pray we will continue to support you, dear brother.
Thank you, Brother Abdul. I have to tell you all about one project that I have coming up, because, you know, God has blessed me to be able to do this around the world. But I have a project that I pray, Minister Rountree, Brother Abdul, and team, Brother Edward, all of you. I hope that you all invite me back, because I have been given the task to do a 7,000 voice, all male chorus to celebrate Nelson Mandela's birthday in South Africa.
Wow.
And so we're going to have men come from all over the continent. And we are opening it up to have men come from all over the world to be a part of that celebration. So I hope that you all, when we get to that call to action, you will have me back, because I want us to be in the house, please.
That's
civil disobedience shutting down universities around the apartheid question of Nelson Mandela. Oh yeah, that happened in South Africa.
Let me ask you a question. When is his birthday again?
July.
So you're working on this now?
I'm working on this now, but we're not going to be July of 23. We're going to be of 24.
24? Oh, okay.
Yes, because it takes a lot to.
Well, I saw you put 2,000 voices together in several months.
7,000.
Right. Well, and 5,000 in 3 months. So
I saw it. I witnessed this.
And we're sure we're going to have more than 7,000 men. The whole thing is, they asked me to do a choir, and I said, you know what? And they were like, you're going to break a world record. I'm saying, but it's not about breaking a world record. I said, but you know what I would prefer right now is that we concentrate on making this be about men. Because we always, the women get their stuff together. They got it together. Let's just say that. And I just thought that it would be great this time to do something that is men helping men, supporting men, and coming together on one accord in a great number. And so that's why we're doing the 7,000 voice all male chorus. And now you all do know, because we're doing 7,000 voices of men, that the women are going to come out. So the stadium will be filled, I'm sure.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure of it.
The hour is drawn. It's upon us. We will close out. Any closing remarks, Reverend Roundtree?
Yes, I do. I just want to add that folks can go down to the box office and get their tickets and watch this. If you mention Newark Interfaith Alliance,
correct,
you get 50% off your ticket.
Newark Interfaith Alliance.
Newark Interfaith Alliance. Or Reverend Roundtree. You get 50% off your ticket. We packed the stadium for New Edition. We packed the stadium for Kim and Charlie Wilson. We packed the stadium for. We can pack the stadium. We'll pay $5,000, $3,000, $2,000, $500 to go and sit to see my gorgeous girl. I ain't gonna say which one. Folks were just talking about her tickets. They was just talking about her tickets. Some folks said they're going to take your whole income tax check.
That's right.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's support this, because I'm going to tell you something. They didn't want this. I've never seen them try to get in the way of no other concert.
That's correct.
Mark Anthony, nobody else. Here come the gospel folk. Here come the black folk. The black owners and operators of McDonald's trying to produce something by way of Curtis Farrow, who's been doing it for 25, but it's been happening for 40. And now they want to question it. We want to sell these tickets, and we want to support these artists that are coming from near and far to Newark, New Jersey. And if you mention the Newark Interfaith Alliance at the box office, you get 50% off your ticket. That's number one. Number two, at this show, this worship experience, they will be doing a tribute to the mother. She's never, ever not been given the respect due her by A. Curtis Farrow. I must say that. She's a mother that's been through much. And a special tribute will be done to her. They call her the Duchess. You know, she got that name from. Gospel Sissy Houston.
Wow, awesome.
Newark song. Newark song.
They're doing a tribute to her. And just a sidebar, night before last, I was invited to a screening of a documentary that's being released of Whitney's Gospel Foundation. You know, I know we got to go. I don't see the Sergeant of Arms on yet, but we have a way of looking for the worst in us.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody say something good, we roll with it. But if they say something, our intent is if it sounds like it might not be right. Well, I thank God that I went to this screening. BB Winans was there, Kim Burrell was there because they were real friends. Of course, A. Curtis Powell was there because he's like in with the family. He is their family.
Right.
So it was an awesome experience to watch this documentary and see that the estate is sending out the positive, all this stuff that's coming. These Clive Davis with his movie, Lifetime with their movie, but her foundation was faith and God and her spirituality. So
I go to the Rock, Minister.
Yes, I Go to the Rock is the name of the documentary, and it was just a great experience with her sister-in-law Patty Houston, who's the executive of her estate. And so watch out for the documentary.
And the album.
Watch out for the cologne. Huh?
The album was released today.
Right, today. The album was released today. So go to iTunes, Apple, wherever it is that you can buy it. But you know what else I saw in my bag?
New material.
Not just new material. Oh yeah, that's in the CD. But some perfume called Whitney.
Yes.
Some perfume called Whitney.
Yes.
So the legacy's going on. That's what I'm most excited about. So let's support that. Thank you, Ert Curtis. Thank you, our producer. Thank you to my brothers, Minister Haqq and Pastor Ali. I just want to make one announcement. I don't see John on. I don't see our sergeant. I don't see him on here tomorrow. Okay, you got 2 more minutes. But listen, because we got one of them. Hey, Donna K, what's up?
Listen, Donna there.
I see Donna. She got a mouth turn. Is she the Frozen? She don't look
frozen. Hey, Donna.
That Frozen is a look like hurry up, but I don't think she knew that. Listen. So anyway, on Monday, March 27th, because so much is going on in our state, the man was walking through the hallway, and that's why I call him the visionary one day. And he says, Roundtree, we need a revival. And I was like, hey, I'm Councilwoman Haqq. I saw your beautiful wife come on and say good evening too. Hey, pretty Kim. So he said, we need a revival. So I was like, okay, church for me is like nothing. It's like, okay, fine. So I got 400 churches. Which one we going to? And he was like, nah, we need something bigger. We just need something. So I said, what, a statewide? And that's really how what's happening Monday came to pass. I thought about all that's going on in the state, and it goes back to what Mr. Farrell was saying about not being connected, not speaking. We have all of these organizations. We got Nation, we got the General Baptist, we got Full Gospel. We have all of these pockets of organizations. But has anyone ever thought to just get the leaders of all those organizations and sit down at the table and say, how can we best help with policy? How can we best go down to Trenton and tell them folk, if I get the with AJCI, the American Jewish, these folks have meetings about hate all the time, like how they're going to combat the people that's coming for them. How come we can't get together? Because it's about humanity. It's not about the Jews, it's not about the Black. It's about people, human beings. So how come we can't do that? Well, hence comes the statewide revival. We're going to go down and we're going to get a call back to God. This is the first one. It's going to be a 3-part series. It's going to be in Rahway at Agape. God designed this whole thing. Didn't nobody sit at no table and say, I think you should get him. I think you should do that. It was all sent by way of God. I promise you, Dr. Lester Taylor, Dr. Danielle Brown, young sister, that just in the history of I don't know how many years of Shiloh, they finally called a woman, and she's that woman. We got a little Ruby Rawls baby, Master Hilton Rawls, who's going to open us up.
And it's at Reverend Powell's.
Who?
Pastor Powell. Isn't it Pastor
Powell? Oh, well, it's at his church. He's the host pastor. Pastor Lawrence Powell is the host pastor. And when I tell you, he just lost, his father just passed 2 weeks ago. His mother just passed 6 weeks ago. So in the midst of all of that, I'm asking God for a location. And he showed me Agape. But then the man, when Pastor's mother got sick, I was like, how do I go ask this man about some church and some service? And so I just waited patiently. And in waiting patiently, when I was able to talk to who I needed to, it happened. So we'll be at Agape Monday night, 7 p.m. Statewide revival. All are welcome. All are invited. to see the 12-year-old open us in prayer. We will be doing a millennial one where I'll be sitting back, not saying nothing, but having a good time and letting them voice and speak a relevant word to our faith leaders and our community. And then we'll do one in South Jersey. And while all of this is going on, there will be a push. There's going to be a plan. Minister Abdul Haqq and Ali want y'all at the table for this. How are we going to approach voting this year? I see a different approach. I know that when we in this city, election day comes, we go out and we pick up people. Our vote matters.
That's right.
Problem is, we wait for them to do what we need them to do after we make the choice and they're in. And then really, once you give a person what they need, they're not obligated or committed to do anything that you need them to do. So the first thing we have to realize is what we going to the table with. But prior to that, how we going to get these folks out? It doesn't make any sense to have a state with millions of individuals and the ratio is so small. It does not make sense to have a city with 300,000 residents and only 3,000 people come out to vote for your children, the school board election. That is ridiculous. So how do we get people, just like we trying to get people to love themselves and love one another, how do we wake them up to say, wait a minute, do you realize how many people blood running in the streets so you can have the right to have a choice in who governs your city, your state? And
that right under attack. That right under attack.
If we keep on sitting back, they think January 6th was something. We better hurry get the hell up and get ourselves together and get our numbers right.
That's right.
We better hurry up because time is of the essence. So I don't believe I got in this position. I know as a minister, I had an assignment, and as the mayor's clergy person, I had an assignment. But every assignment, he said, wrap it up. Every assignment God has had me on has been an assignment for the people. I'm good. I've never been hungry. I've been close to it. Been close to homelessness too. But it's not about anything with me. Because I believe if we do right by the people and tell them the truth, all of us going to be all right. Yes, so March 27th, Monday night, Agape, Broadway, New Jersey. And then April 6th, the next women's meeting is happening at Trek Center, 55 Ludlow Street, bringing the women together. The first meeting was a meet and greet, and we had an inspirational speech by Julius Williams-White. The second meeting dealt with home ownership. The third meeting is going to deal with financial literacy on April 6th. God bless you. I thank you tonight. Kim Riley, we love you, sis. For those of you who've listened to me tonight, and everybody else.
Hello. And I know we're winding up, so Minister Haqq, because I got guests in the background. So Sergeant at Arms' assistant is here.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Pastor Ali is giving this announcement, but he's on mute. Brother Zaid, thank you, Brother Ed Riley. Thank you, Brother Curtis Farrell. Thank you, Reverend Roundtree.
Thank you.
Big honor to have you, Brother Farrell.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being
here.
That's right. Thank you, my queen.
Thank you, everyone.
I thought Ali had an announcement.
We all did. He was on mute.
Ali, you on mute, brother.
He's steady going through. He preaching right through the mute.
I don't know if you know that.
He ain't got a clue. Yeah.
He said, Black Power. Power to the people.
Black Power to love.
Peace, family. I love you, Don. I love you guys. Talk to you later.
Oh,
all right.
This is just the first hour. Look at it. Oh, man. That was a real serious share. Thank you, my sister, for bringing us that great brother. That was a really serious share.
Yeah.
That was the start.
I got a whole bunch of great folks. I don't call it. I got a whole bunch. It's just we never invite folk. Brother Ed was trying to get us to invite people in the middle a long time ago. He was like, why don't you ask so? He was making suggestions, but I can make a whole bunch of recommendations. If y'all say it's good, they could come on and have a conversation. Yeah. But going forward, because all politics are local, we want to make sure we bring people that are going to benefit the people. Right?
Councilwoman, real quick, do they still do the citywide revival?
Well, now the citywide revival was born under Reverend John T-Bow. Reverend John T-Bow did it for many years. Now that's a history. They bought it back. Joshua Younger bought it back a few years ago, and then COVID hit. But I think he's doing something this summer, Joshua Younger, which is actually preaching at the church that Reverend John T-Bow had. But John T-Bow was the I guess you would say the founder.
Okay.
The visionary of the citywide. And there's still some pastors around that were part of that. So yes, he did bring it back. Joshua for a couple of years. They revived it. And they think they're doing something this summer.
Now God is calling you to do a statewide. Got you. Okay.
I'm doing a statewide a lot of stuff because I'm coming back for the listen, y'all can do what you're gonna do right now to me, because truth be told, I'm coming after some legislation.
All right, I
don't need 20 preachers. I don't need 50. I don't want them saying that what we say don't matter because we ain't gonna say nothing.
Yeah,
I don't want them saying don't talk to the faith leaders because they ain't gonna do nothing. I don't want that narrative to be. They need to know that when we have a conversation, it's gonna make a difference. I see your other guests is here, so we're gonna talk Bible, but yeah, this revival is going to God about it first.
Right.
See, sometimes what we do is we go after it, then go to God and say, why didn't it happen? Or God, please help us. You got to go to God first. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I ain't talking about no, in your corner, you pray. And while you doing that, you come outside. Everybody not going to do that. So we got to pray for those who not going to do that part. Everybody ain't coming to the statewide. That's why I'm doing 3. But then we got to do something after we do the statewide, like go outside. You know what I'm saying? Peace.
All right, Roundtree.
Peace.
That's right. You had just heard the Reverend Roundtree hour of power.
I love you guys.
Love you too. All right, Roundtree.
I'm trying to get out.
Fire today. Now, the great Jonathan Austin, you know he always bailing on us because he always going somewhere with his famous self, right? But he let me know that he said, Saeed, do you know Margie Johnson, the national parents? I said, I know Mia X. You know, that's her other name, but I know Mia X. I don't know no Margie Johnson to know national parents. He said, no, it's the same one. I said, well, you got to know who she is, right? For y'all that don't know, this is who she is. This is who Margie Johnson is. And I know y'all know Mia X, right? And I'm holding up a book, a very original contribution to the craft that this young lady and I share called poetry. This is a 1-volume serial poem. You don't see serial poems that make up an entire volume like this. An original contribution, an original voice on our literary scene here in North, who is also, so I'm just learning, part of the National Parents Union, right? And as a lifetime parent, I'm ashamed that I ain't never even heard of a National Parents Union. That's a union some of all us should be in, right? So I want to welcome to our show, welcome to the mic, Mia X, baby Mia X, Margie Johnson, right? Who's gonna tell us something about the National Parents Union?
Thank you so much, everybody.
Hey,
hello.
Daughter, what's going on? You all right? What's good?
Listen, I just got back from DC. That's why I look like this. I got the kids in the back, but I was out there representing Newark, New Jersey on the Capitol. It was a bunch of parents from everywhere, and I got to network with a bunch of different parents from every different place. Like all the states were represented, and we were talking about this bill that's on the floor. It's already been passed, the HR 5, and it's called the Parents' Bill of Rights. And it's like we started talking, and it's like, are we represented in the bill? And the bill is not really representative of what parents really want. So we started talking about our kids and what we want for our kids. And I got emotional. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I'm a poet. I'm just talking about what my kids are actually going through. And I kind of teared up because there's some things that I want for us. I don't know. It's going in and out. I hope you guys can hear me. But I was up there talking.
Oh, he just went. Her phone is running low.
Or she's on and it's happening to me too. Or she's on the road, so she's in and out with different, So maybe she should cut her picture off and just you know how you say cut your picture off?
Yeah. She's
And
on,
yeah.
and she's only
But
down to like
sometimes when
15% left. She was texting me in the chat. So you know we're gonna struggle to get her. You know, the Jim jumped on. Jim's on early.
She should say probably just like that if she can, because when you're going in and out of different satellites, it even happens here in Essex County. It bugs me out how you go back and forth. Oh, that's some. What was that? That's not.
No, that's definitely not Marge.
That's not Marge.
Jim is off our 7:30 segment. He's a couple minutes early. We may have to bring him in early if we can't get Margie back. All right.
And she was getting good.
She is on the road.
It said she teared up. Yeah.
Yeah, the bill that she was talking about,
HR 5.
Bring it up is something that's coming from the other side of the table.
And it did not represent us. And she started telling, well, my kids are not represented in this bill. And when you start talking about your babies, they go to kids. Listen, it's personal.
Well, here's what she was talking about. I'm trying to put this in the chat. I don't know if we can get it up. But this is a bill that is from the Republican side of the street.
Yeah. Who's the author of it? Can you see it real quick?
Yeah, it's there, all right? And that's what Jonathan wanted to make sure that we lifted up. And just lifting her up, the fact that she did assume that responsibility to go down and get down with that particular front. And that's an important front.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to know
and look how it landed. Last thing Pastor Roundtree, Councilwoman, just talked about us not showing up and the numbers, and then Mia goes right into HR 5 talking about how we represented, and representation is representing at those polls. We have to. When I tell people one thing in Jersey, if you don't like nobody up there, go write your name in. Sister in South Jersey, nobody voted for anybody in the school board. She wrote her name in and she became a school board member with her vote and her mother's vote.
Yeah, indeed. So I don't know if she's able to get back on. She was trying to say
this segment in, and then we'll come back to Mia.
Yeah, she was trying to say to me that her phone, the battery was low on her phone. We might lose her. But so we're gonna have to get her back. But I did share this bill. This bill is coming from the other side of the street. It's coming from the GOP and some of Donna's friends. Right.
There you go. That's the top of my resume. I can network it all.
So that's what she did.
Text me the number and you start the next segment, and I'll call her and see if she can come back in 20 minutes.
I don't have her number. I don't have Mia's number, but Jonathan reached out to me.
I'll get it to John. Go ahead and start the next segment. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll get it to John.
All right. Jim, you might, if you can hear me, Jim, you can come on. Let me text him. Because he's in the background already. He can come on in. We're close to time anyway. There you go. I was just bringing you in, Jim. Okay. That was that would have been a great segue. You know, these parents' rights and trying to fight the right wing on parents' rights and the spotlight on the ACLU. Right, a long-standing champion for civil liberties, and comes right from this area, by the way, too. Would have been a great segue, but we'll have to get Mia back. Jim Sullivan, this is it. She's trying to come in now. Let's see how she does. Right, are you all right? Stay there, Jim. It's all right. Stay there. We
Hello again.
With her phone and her battery.
Thank you. I'm like, let me rush back in just because it's still on my heart. It's still so fresh. I just got back from DC, and it was really a different type of experience for me, because I am an artist and I am a poet, and I'm always with the people. That's just what I do. But because of where I'm standing and how I have to be an advocate for my three. For you guys who don't know, I have 3 children, Till, Boaz, and Orchid.
Everybody know because they wish you all the time like they're supposed to be.
Exactly. It's like we are actually going through things, and I'm learning how to advocate for them better. So I was accepted into a program with Arts Ed as an ambassador for the arts education. I've been working with NJPAC for a long time doing the work this way. And so I have a project that I have to complete in that class, in that cohort of parents, local parents who just want to advocate for their kids. We trying to find out where all this money is going. That's for arts education under COVID funding. We following the money. So I'm getting very curious, y'all, community. I'm just getting very curious. And just talking about what we're actually going through and what we might need. And I'm just in a company of different people, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers who care about their kids too. And they're saying it's not about being quiet. It's about talking up and coming together in solidarity and in unity. And that's really what it is. It's not about complaining about who's next to us, who's not doing it. It's about getting active. And it's just so many different things. And, I'm not trying to be the squeaky wheel, but at the end of the day, it's like I have to advocate for my babies, and it's things that I feel like I'm learning, but I am going to be intentional about connecting with parents in this community and talking about what we want, because they out here passing bills without us. They creating shit. We don't even have nothing to do with it. It don't have nothing to do with us. They just saying, like, hold on. Let me speak for myself. And that's why I love National Parents Union. The shirt said nothing about us without us. And
So
it was like the spark for
that's
conversation. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't have the shirt on now. I had it on all weekend, but it was saying, and
we got you. We got you on the page with it. I got you.
So I'm on my feet, and I feel like I need to make a contribution. I love my babies, but just a real quick brief story. My mother passed away, and one of the principals at the school said it's not her job, talking about the teacher, to hug my daughter. It's not your job to hug her, but she would have needed it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just going to show you how grief and the social emotional learning have to be a part of the conversation. You can't be dealing with kids who are grieving with vicarious grief. Shout out to Aaliyah Berry. Just the grief that we're carrying constantly, and we can't pretend that we're not dealing with that. You know what I'm saying? So when you come into the classroom, it have to be like a holistic and an inclusive conversation, and not, the little, like, we got to focus on things that, I'm sorry if I can't really hear you so well, but, so I get passionate about things, and I feel like I was in a perfect environment to represent Newark. And me, I was talking about love, because I'm always about love and healing our community, but I'm learning from different people and seeing what other people are going through and connecting Newark with Minnesota and Chicago, and it's going to be something great. And the project so far is a play about a collection of parents that go down to DC and put pressure on and figure out what they want to do. And we're going to leave it open-ended to find out what Newark community members really want to do, because I'm approaching it from an art perspective. You know what I'm saying? But it's a network of parents, and that's actually what we need. So I hope I ain't talk too fast. I love y'all. It was a great experience.
Talking fast is good on radio when you up against a radio time clock. That's all right. So I want you to take a beat. Right.
Okay.
Now you down in DC talking about this. What is this HR 5 that you want to talk about? Tell us about it. I ain't heard nothing about it. Tell us about it. Take us to school.
It's called the Parents' Bill of Rights. That's what it is, and it's already been voted on, and they've accepted it. And at the end of the day, it's making parents feel like they're not at the table because of what they're talking about. So HR 5, we went down there and we were saying we are opposed to it. We don't want it because they don't want to talk about. And I told them we from Newark. They turning their eyes away, saying they don't want to talk about this. They banning books. They don't want to talk about him. Like, we are not turning our face away from people who add to our culture and our experience. We want to hear from different people. See, it feels like, to me, it's like a fear mongering type of thing where they don't want everybody's conversation to come to the table. And we saying, we want to hear. You ain't got to ban no book. We dealing with shit that we actually, you worrying about the wrong thing. So that's why it's like, well, what do parents really want to talk about? What do parents care about? Y'all just, from y'all angle, talking about what y'all want. And it's a whole list. It was so many points. Like, I could send, it ain't even about the points. It's just about the wholeness of what me personally. When I looked at the information, I'm like, you know what? This ain't representing nobody in my community. So let me go and represent my community. And I started talking about the grief and the trauma. And, they're not even acknowledging none of that. They just want to talk about, whether or not trans kids could, like, let people be. People have their own experience. Welcome people to the table. See what people actually need. Engage with people and let parents come. If you're going to create something about what parents want, let parents talk. So obviously our community is not really represented, and I'm just there to represent our community, and I don't have all the perfect answers and responses for what people want, but I know I represent Newark, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? And that was what put the battery in my back too, because I know what we want and what we need. Because it's me. I'm the expert on what Till, Boaz, and Orchid need. You understand? And I'm a teacher myself. You know what I'm saying? The classroom look different. It's so much happening. It's like we gotta get clear. And me,
So
I'm
this
just asking
bill,
questions. Yeah, like
this
I feel like
bill
I'm
is
opening
about
up.
curtailing the capacity of good teachers to teach. Let's call it what it is, right?
Yes.
And why it was important
And so
for your
much
voice to be
like
heard
documentation.
to
They
oppose
want
it.
you to, they trying to get in people business that they don't need to be in. You know what I'm saying?
And it's
And
important.
we want to come together and create something that we a community. It's not something separate. Let's learn from each other. And that's why I'm like, I don't know what I was doing before, but thank God I have new clarity and I'm waking up more and more because I want to be at the table and figure out what's going on. Like
Let's tie this together this way, right?
Yes.
So this is
yes.
all politics are local, right? Now
Mhm,
this is a bill that's being pushed by the backwards orientation in the U.S. Congress that's trying to push as much of our rights backwards as they possibly can. Now tomorrow we were actually supposed to host a special forum on a New Jersey John Lewis voting rights bill to protect ourselves from that kind of energy coming this way. So it is important. This is Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
We have an important election coming up locally. What is that? It's our Board of Education election. That's important. So in coming weeks, family, y'all know who watched the show. We will have the candidates on. But what's more important than you watching is you actually coming out and putting the best people who best speak to our interests and the protection of our rights in this community to have the quality education that we determine ourselves. As opposed to the right wing saying we don't want this book, we don't want these people in, and we don't want this is another wave of the attack of the right wing on our votes and to uphold the backwards reaction of white supremacy in its ugliest forms. I'm making it plain.
Ugliest. Come on,
really
come
important
on, Baba.
to really understand that. So Mia, because you've been in and out, and I got to get ready for the next segment. Tell us this: what are the takeaways that you want those of your opposing voices to take from what happened in DC, and what are the things we should be doing in terms of next moves to try and protect ourselves on that front?
Well, I think we gotta have a conversation. Let's talk amongst ourselves. Let's talk about what we want. And I posted that on Facebook too. What are the issues that you're going through? You are not alone, and this is about us, like we can't just complain and sit on the sideline. Let's come together, let's talk, let's build, let's work, and let's stand in what our ancestors have fought for. All of this is ours. They don't exist without us, right? So, I'm with it, y'all. I'm with it.
Is there a local chapter? Is there a local chapter of National?
Well, guess what? Guess who's the local chapter? Come on, Miss Margie Johnson. I am talking to them. I told them, I said, y'all are my people because y'all are going to help me to bridge this other part of the work that I do, to bring the art to it and connect and be a bridge. That's really what I wanted to do. So, any parent in Newark, New Jersey that wants to have this conversation, please follow us at National Parents Union. I've been tweeting them. I'm at Life We Imagine. I've been live tweeting through my whole time when I was in DC, and I still got other information. I'm trying to get connected with parents who want to talk about something because we want to make it look like us. You feel me? So, I love y'all so much and thank y'all so much. And, it's really about serving the community. That's really what I got. That was the takeaway. I love Dr. Martin Luther King, and he talked about serving. You ain't got to do this and you ain't got to do that. You just got to serve the people. And that's really one of the takeaways that I got, just being on that hill and walking through them halls and just being in that space. I just was like, nah, B, it's time. It's time. I feel our ancestors just pushing through me. And it's like, yo, connect, speak up, connect. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm here to learn, and I will be at that meeting. Look, but Baba, connect me, please, because I'm not just writing poems about this shit. I'm for real. Okay? I love y'all. I love y'all.
I got
Thank you to all of the elders. Thank you.
All
Peace
right.
out.
Good to see you, baby. I'm very proud of you. All
Thank
right.
you. Bye.
Yeah, this is great. Good stuff. We got I got a tough young union organizer coming right behind her. Jim, come on in now. Yes. Well, that was a wild but natural transition and segue in this way. Mia is a local, very beloved young poet and a somewhat new teaching artist. Just was brought into this conversation about this backwards parents' Bill of Rights, and the bug of organization bitter, right? And that's a good bug to be bitten on, right? So I'm glad she is picking up that fresh fire, because that's all a part of the assault on our rights that's coming from the right wing. It wasn't just about Biden winning the election over Trump. It's trying to check that whole march of that energy and that agenda that's seeking to take us back to a space that a whole lot of y'all ain't even lived long enough to see. And it's an ugly space, right? And we ain't trying to go back there, right? So how does that segue to this young man? Y'all know I got an ACLU profile coming on, but his profile is in union organizing, right? It's some serious union organizing way out in Vegas, right? Another gangster territory of another kind, right? Organizing culinary workers, a lot of whom, struggling with the whole battle of trying to be legitimized as workers from immigrant backgrounds, with a whole lot of immigrant hostility at this time, and pull some real stuff together and wound up in the mighty ACLU of New Jersey, right? And who gets down strong for the ACLU in terms of trying to hold the police accountable for the abuse that we constantly face. I'm proud to bring back on All Politics Are Local Jim Sullivan, the Deputy Policy Director for the ACLU. Jim, welcome back, son. What's going on?
Thanks, Zaid. Thanks, Edward. Thanks for having me. Super happy to be back on. Yeah, we got a lot going on. It's hard to know where to start, but I think that the most
Go ahead, start where you see fit.
Yeah. So the first thing I would like to say to start off is, I'd like to send peace, love, and strength to Najee Seabrook's family and his comrades in Patterson right now who are feeling from the incident a couple weeks ago. And I also would like to say, quite frankly, Najee should be on this show tonight talking about the groundbreaking, life-saving, and revolutionary work he was doing. And the Patterson police took that away from us. It should be him on this episode tonight talking about his great work instead of me. And I just wanted to start with that. And I could tell you a little bit about, segue into how the ACLU is handling the Najee Seabrooks case. So first, we are, Patterson's police department has a history of impunity, and we're calling for a federal investigation, right? The police officers in Patterson must be held accountable. And, too often we see racist policing go unpunished as a result of a criminal legal system built on white supremacy, like we were just to talk about in the previous segment. And despite oversight from the prosecutor's office, the Patterson Police Department's unconstitutional behavior persists. So we joined 48 other groups and called for investigation into the PPD's Patterson Police Department's pattern of misconduct. So that's one thing we're doing, but we're not stopping there, right? We also are tackling this legislatively, right? And before I get into what we're doing legislatively, I just feel like it's always important to add the caveat when we're talking about the criminal legal system. The problems, like I just said, it's a system built on white supremacy, right? And the problems within the criminal legal system are systemic, right? And in many ways, the system is operating exactly like it's supposed to. right? Which is to hold down poor people.
Say that. That's
and,
right.
and dehumanize Black and brown communities, right? And that's the way it's always been, right? And we can't reform our way out of that, right? We need to reimagine policing as a whole when we're looking at the big picture, right? But along the way, we can't wait, right? We obviously know we can't wait. So in the moment now, I think there's two tracks that we need to take legislatively, and the ACLU is pursuing this. We need to be able to hold police officers accountable for the incidents like happened in Patterson, right? Right now, we do not have a meaningful way in New Jersey to really hold police officers accountable. So right now at the state legislature, the ACLU New Jersey has 3 bills that we've been pushing for years now that we feel would bring real police accountability to New Jersey. The first one is full transparency of police disciplinary records, right? This is crucial, right? We've seen over and over and over again, police officers are involved in police misconduct and police violence have previous records of misconduct. Most notably in the George Floyd case, Derek Chauvin had over, I believe, 10 use of incidents on his report. In the Najee Seabrooks case,
Dorsey. Right here in Newark with Carl Dorsey. Rod Simpkins was in the ACLU petition when we went to the Justice Department for federal oversight here in Newark. Why is he still on the floor? Carl Dorsey should be alive. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you were dead on point. Go ahead, son.
Yep. And even to add on to that, one of the officers that shot Najee Seabrooks had over 10 misconduct complaints. How did that man end up on any type of mental health force that was meant to de-escalate with that many use of force hits on his record, right? So that's why we need full police transparency of disciplinary records. Second, we need strong CCRBs. We've been hearing that from the Newark community for years, and now we're hearing that it's a central demand coming out of Patterson, right? And when we talk about CCRBs, I'm not talking about CCRBs that are just accountability theater that makes it look like we're doing something, and the cops can say, "Hey, we took these recommendations and did some things." I'm talking about CCRBs with real power, and when we talk about real power, I'm talking about CCRBs that have the subpoena power to subpoena witnesses and the ability to do concurrent investigations with the police, right? Because many times when internal affairs complaints are put in, they drag out the clock, right? They take as long as they can, and by the time that report is finished, it's almost nearly impossible to go back and find those witnesses and evidence from the beginning of the case. So the concurrent investigations are just as important as the subpoena power for strong CCRBs. And lastly, we need to end qualified immunity, right? Qualified immunity, for those that don't know, is this really archaic and weird law that basically makes it nearly impossible to sue a police officer for civil damages, even if they violated your constitutional rights. It's a real precedent, and if cops out there know that they can be sued and be held personally, financially responsible for things might be different. And that's why they fight it so hard. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we have to do on the police accountability piece, and that's holding them accountable, right? But we can't stop there. We need to stop these things before they happen, right? And the way that I think that we do that in the short term, right? Look no further than Patterson, the Patterson Healing Collective, right? We need non-law enforcement mental health intervention units that can go in and save people's lives. The Patterson Healing Collective has saved numerous lives, right? They're so good at what they do, they train the police on how to do it, right? That's how good they are. They're so good at what they do that they've teamed up with the hospital, psychiatrists at a hospital. That's how good they are at doing it, right? The same thing with the New York Community Street Team, right? Violence interruption. This stuff works, right? It was working in New Jersey. It's working around the country. And we need to also look at non-law enforcement intervention so that we can stop these acts of violence before they happen.
And you're on a roll. I'm going to just take it one step at a time. I want everybody to appreciate that the first effort to actually implement, the first implementation of a CCRB is right here in Newark, New Jersey. done right here by none other than our Mayor Ras Jewel Baraka by executive order. And NCAP, this is the space that Jim and I share. ACLU initiated a vehicle known as NCAP, a coalition of some of the organizations that were fighting for the CCRB here in Newark, right? NCAP approached and united the city council at the time to come behind Mayor Baraka and to make that executive order an ordinance. So it's going to be some of that for some of everybody, no matter who the mayor is or who city council is. And another original feature of the CCRB in Newark, right, is that it is as a genuine community character. I mean, the organizations rooted in social justice who can help ensure transparency in that process are on the CCRB. The mighty ACLU has a representative on the CCRB, right? People's Organization for Progress as a representation on our CCRB. The NAACP, our oldest of our civil rights organizations, has a representation on our CCRB. A very original contribution to this whole question. CCRBs, as we know them, are basically paper tigers who just make policy suggestions after investigations that come with no accountability and no consequence, right? What we're trying to put in play that got blocked by the New Jersey Supreme Court and kicked to the legislature. This is what Jim is talking about, right? Kicked to the legislature as a model for a CCRB that can genuinely hold police accountable and put some real control over policing in communities' hands. So I want to lift that up. And we've done some great things in this space on All Politics Are Local, right? And I want to, Jim, we were supposed to do a segment on voting rights, a special program on voting rights tomorrow that Alharina Sorta, one of your comrades from the ACLU, was supposed to participate in. The but is that we lost a giant on the legislative front who was one of our champions on that particular front. The late, great Ron Rice, right? Senator Rice was the author of the Senate version of the CCRB bill. And of the two versions, it was the strongest. And here's a man, combat decorated Vietnam veteran, former police officer, not afraid to stand up against the grain of the racist pressure and undue influence of the police unions that have been blocking the emergence of CCRBs as we can see them. So this is a major loss. So as Jim lifts up this background, we sounding the drum. We need some legislators with some spine. Some legislators with some spine, right? Some legislators willing to unite, right? And make this thing happen, because if George Floyd doesn't give us the time, if Najee Seabrooks doesn't give us the time, if Carl Dorsey doesn't give us the time, then what time are we waiting for? No, we say now is certainly the time to try and make that happen. And just to go back even further, our beloved comrade C.J. Griffin has been on the show several times as well, lifting up. She's been the driving force for us in the community on the question of police transparency, right? Hugely important. And let's not forget also that we also need a no-knock raid bill as well, right? So there's plenty. We ain't got none of them. Yannick was on last week, Jim, and if you remember, Yannick put out a pointed op-ed a couple years ago, right after George Floyd got killed. He said, for all of New Jersey's pretensions about being a progressive state, Democratic governor, Democratic assembly, Democratic legislature, the Democratic Senate, New Jersey has done nothing on police reform. So this is a drum call that we're talking about, right? Wherever you are listening in here, those of you who are in Jersey listening and watching us, right? We need the time to engage your legislators, your assembly persons, and your Senate persons is now, right? We got to put some fire on some of their behinds to make this happen. And I didn't mean to go off and whatnot, but I just want, Jim has only been on with us once, but I want him to get a picture of how long we've been rolling with this. And Newark has been one of the mother cities on CCRBs. This Newark has been calling for CCRBs before the mighty Newark uprising.
Wow.
Before the mighty Newark uprising. Right? I've seen the years and what footage I've seen goes back as far as 1965. Right? He was older than I am. I was just a youngin' in 65. Right? That's been a long time. Right? And so Newark is in a pivotal position, as is Patterson now. If that very, unfortunately, very divided city ever came together and actually sees this important historical moment. Let me stop because I done went off. Right? I need to let Jim come and take us further.
Yeah, no lies were told, though, Zaid. So, but one thing I wanted to pick up that you said is the police lobby. Let's talk about the police lobby for a second, right? And right now, the reason we're in the situation. Part of the reason we're in the situation we're in with criminal legal system reform is because the police lobby has a stranglehold politically and fiscally on the legislature right now. It's just a fact the way it is, right? And like I said, we have all these police accountability bills up and great, beautiful bills that could move our state forward. And what are we doing right now? Instead, what are we doing? We're further criminalizing auto theft. That's what the legislature is prioritizing right now, right? And for the last year, we've been hearing this whole car theft is the end of the world, and we have to do something about it, right? Even though the car theft data has dropped for the last 5 months, they still want to do that, right? And I think the important part, right? Not only is the data showing that car theft is going down, and we're still further criminalizing this stuff, right? The one thing that they don't say in these hearings, do you know what the clearance rate is for car theft? 7%. 7%. So that means that 93% of auto thefts in New Jersey go unsolved. So we're spending this much time in the legislature to further criminalize 7% of the people that are getting caught, right? And when you compare that, we're talking about clearance rates, right? The clearance rate for murder is 51%. Clearance rate for rape is 24%. These are incredibly low, but yet we want to put all these resources into auto theft to further criminalize auto theft, where the clearance rate is just 7%. It just doesn't make any sense at all, right? And it just shows the opposite way that the legislature is going right now.
But Jim, but here's the thing that's so frustrating about that is that doesn't Jersey have a racial impact statement law?
Let's talk about that too.
Tell folks what that is. Why?
Yes.
Why folks ain't dealing with that?
Yeah. So on the racial impact statement, there was a law that was passed that said that when passing a bill that might have racial impacts on certain communities, that the bill should be accompanied with a racial impact statement. We have yet to see that happen. As the ACLU and coalitions that we're a part of, we're calling for racial impact statements to be used. There has been some positive movement. Assemblyman Spearman said in a hearing, I believe last month or maybe the month before, that he wants a racial impact statement on all the bills that have come in front of this committee this year so far. That would be some movement. It hasn't happened yet. But if it were to happen, it would be a really great thing. And I would just point out right now that the way right now, without racial impact statements on these laws, we are not following the law as it was enacted. And we just need to simply follow the law. And I think if we did, we would find out what's really going on with these criminalizations bills, right? They're not targeting white communities, right? That's not where these bills are targeted towards, right? They are going after the same communities they've always gone after to further criminalize those communities. So it's disappointing, and it's just like you said, Zaid. We need more political courage, right? And I don't think that we're going to get political courage in the legislature until we get organized together, right? There's Patterson and Camden and Newark all over the state, right? And I think that if we can get organized together just as the cities and get ourselves on the same page and start moving as one, I think that we can achieve that, right? We can get to the point where we can take on that police lobby power, right? Where we can go into a legislator's office and they listen to us and do the same that they do for the police lobby now.
That's right. Indeed. I wanted, and I put on an article in the chat, and you may want to lift up some of this too, because you work. The ACLU team is a wonderful team of organizers and lawyers that I'm extremely proud of. Our legal director, Jean Cicero, had some important observations that she made about how certain things are handled in the Najee Seabrooks case. You want to lift that up for a moment?
Yeah, for sure. So, so when we're talking, give me 1 second. So yeah, so Jean had a really great on the video on the language that's used in the video, right? So the Attorney General's office released the footage, right, and a statement. And in the statement, they used definitive language to describe the events that involved lethal force. And the language they use raises really serious concerns, right? So when the independent law was passed, it gave us confidence that the AG would serve as an independent entity to investigate and present cases to grand juries when police kill people. And when that happens, impartiality is crucial for grand juries to serve as the conscience of the community. And when you start using words like lunge to describe Mr. Seabrook's last movements, it undermines the whole purpose of the law by swaying the narrative, right? Using terms like lunge totally sways the narrative. It undercuts the role of grand juries and diminishes in the independence of the process in general, right? And it's language like that it automatically sets a narrative that's not true, right?
And sets to die for them to not be held accountable.
Yep, right. And if you're someone that didn't watch the video, right, and you read that thing and you read lunge and you don't know anything else about the case, that's going to inform your opinion on that case, right? That's going to inform someone that's on the grand jury's opinion of the case, right? That's a very powerful word. It might not seem like that to some people, but in a situation like this, that word means all the difference in the investigation. So we felt it was necessary to call that out because we need a fully independent investigation into this so that people are held accountable and the changes that are needed to be made are made.
Indeed. And that has a background. It has a background since we've gotten this bill, this important bill on the legislative front that is a part of the push for police accountability, comes out of our area, by the way. All politics are local. Our daughter, Assemblywoman Brittany Timberlake, who I'm personally very proud of, who drove this bill as a freshman Assemblywoman, right? Somebody a legislator with some courage, right? A freshman got this pushed through the Assembly, and people like Ronald Rice and Nia Gill spoke up for it in the Senate. And even then, Governor Murphy was a little timid about signing it, but then something happened in Patterson. His name is Jameek Lowry, right? In a mental health crisis. Didn't know who to go for help, but went to the hospital and went to the police and said, if anything happens to me, it's on videotape, live stream, they did it. He knew he was in a dangerous spot, but did not know that there were other resources for him to go somewhere. And in police custody, they beat this boy unrecognized, broke his eye sockets, nose, beat him horribly to death while he was in the throes of a mental health crisis. And it was only because we were in the streets in Patterson and for Jameek Lowry that the governor found the conviction to sign that bill. So we needed that another wave of pushing and pressure in the name of Najee Seabrooks and all those folks who've been killed by the police in the interim in similar situations. Hassani Best was killed in Asbury Park the day after the New Jersey Supreme Court ruled against our CCRB bill. The day after. And he too was killed on videotape, right? And there was a squad of The emergency crisis people specialize in those kind of situations. And Hassani had a butter knife in his hand, right? The officer that took him out knew him already and just took upon himself, because of no concern at all about accountability and no value for his black life. They took that young man out of here, right? Major Gulia Dale III. Major Gulia Dale III, decorated vet, been in the military since the boy came out of high school right here in Jersey, right? 3 tours of duty, a legend in U.S. military ranks, just retired from the Pentagon, known in the community that he lived in, Newton, New Jersey, in a mental health crisis on the 4th of July of all days. Y'all hear this story. On the 4th of July, wife was concerned about him. Those fireworks were sending him into a dark place. She was worried about him harming himself. What does she do? She calls the police. And then when they arrive on the scene, the call goes, and this is important to appreciate too, because when we talk about reforming police, we got to talk about the whole paradigm, including the call centers. Call didn't go, Major Dale is in a mental health crisis, right? Let's send the team out to help him. The call went, black man with a gun. And that's how they came. And in 12 seconds, that vet who gave his whole life for the United States in the military was dead. But the story gets even more intriguing, because just several months earlier, a white vet was in a mental health crisis and was armed, and who even fired at the police when they came upon him. But they used every protocol for that kind of situation, for the mental health crisis, and were able to take that man in without firing a shot. Why didn't the Gulia Dales of the land get the same courtesy? And the Attorney General's office on this accord has been horrible. Horrible. So it was important that the voice of the ACLU be heard on this matters. And we shout Gina Cicero out in the ACLU for doing that. So I just wanted to fill in that, because it is indeed that telling, because we need the Attorney General to do what the Attorney General is supposed to do. Right? We got racial impact statement laws. They need to be followed. We got an independent prosecutors bill. Right? That needs to be, it need not be a paper tiger. That's not what we fought for. It need not be, it too needs transparency and integrity, and that undercuts it. Right? Attorney General Bruckner, whatever your name is, right? And we calling you out on that. And my partner sitting up there in the corner is a tough lawyer in his own right. Jim, I know he wants to jump in and hit us with a good body shot in this conversation some kind of way. You might as well jump on it, Ed, now, because I'll start rolling, and you know how I get.
I think for me, obviously, I think, Najee is just a wake-up call, right? That, police officers haven't stopped killing us. And that's the problem, right? Once we get lulled to sleep, here it comes again. And I think that we cannot afford to go to sleep on any of this. And I think that, like we were talking to, them brothers from Patterson last week, Zahid, I think that the organization most certainly has to continue. And we have to keep the pressure on, because I think, just like Jim said, all of us know from a legal perspective that these folks have set the stage to change the narrative by simply saying lunge, right? We all know that. And you really don't have to go to law school to know any of that. But at the end of the day, they're trying to change the narrative. So I think that the organization and the organizing with all of these organizations, we have to keep that pressure on, and we cannot let this go to sleep. But I agree with what a lot has been said. But I think that until you began to put some real serious bills in place that are going to have some teeth, like touching these guys' pensions, right? Or touching, these guys' salaries and these guys being out of work, while these cases are being fought. These people are not going to change because they don't think that there's any consequences to killing folks. So you've gotta really put those kinds of things in place. And then, of course, we've got to have a governor that's willing to understand, what a CCRB bill really means locally to those of us who are being murdered by police, because there, but for the grace of God, go all of us, right? I mean, they don't stop, when they stop me or stop you, Zaid, they don't stop and say, oh, by the way, let me ask you a question. Are you a police officer? No, they don't do that. They look at you and the first thing they see is color, right? So we've got to think about all of that and begin to put some kind of mechanisms in place, because at the end of the day we end up with this repeated cycle, right?
That's right.
It just goes on and on and on, because I think about my, how I came to this game. Think about Eleanor Bumpers in Brooklyn, right? The grandma.
Mental health crisis.
Right.
Shotgunner.
Right.
Shotgun a grandmother in a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Shameful.
Is that public safety?
No, it's terrorism.
Jim, and we talk about some. That's how I come to this piece, right? And think about that. We're talking about over 30 years ago when that happened, and she was having a mental health crisis. And then we go to Najee having a mental health crisis.
Exactly.
Right.
And as you
this
pointed out, continues. Last year was the most police killings on record, right? 2022 was the most police killings on record. So like you said, the cycle continues. And the cycle will continue until we have legislators that have the courage, like you said, to stop it. They have the power to stop it, right? And, they're really good at making great statements, thoughts and prayers and all that type of stuff, which is helpful to some, but it's going to stop the problem. We need people, we need champions to step up that care more about justice for the communities that need it than their upcoming election, right? That's the type of legislators we need in there. We need the type of legislators that are in there that are ready to champion legislation that might get them voted out of office, but they don't care because they know it's the right thing to do. We need more of that energy and that type of vibes from our legislators right now. And quite frankly, we're not getting that from the legislature right now. And like I said earlier, I think that we need to do everything we can to change that fact. Yes. We need to put more pressure on them, right? Like I said, the police lobby runs around that building, and they literally writing bills down there. You know what I mean? And we can't even get a hearing on the CCRB bill. So I think it's time for the people to take over that state house instead of the police lobby. That's my opinion.
Before you came on, that is exactly what Reverend Roundtree was saying, right?
Really?
He was saying it's one thing to talk about voting people in. We got to talk about voting some people out.
That's right.
Right? We got to talk about getting some of these people out. And they need to know that, right? They need to know we see what you're not doing. And so our plan is that we're going to run someone against you, right? And we're going to keep in mind what you haven't done. And what we're going to do is we're going to promote that, right? Because you're sitting here and the whole time we got people who are dying, right? And I love the way you came on, Jim. You're right. Najee should be here, right? That young brother should be here with us.
He should be telling his own success story.
That's right.
Najee was a trained interventionist in the Patterson Healing Collective. Last week we had, just for your reference, Jim, we had Zeli Imani on and we had Yannick on, right? But and I have not been able to get the Healing Collective on because they're hurting. They just ain't ready. They ain't ready to come on and talk about that. And I said, whenever you're ready, you know I got you. But this young man, gun violence survivor, right? Trained by the best, and they have a roundtable like our Newark Community Street Team has this public safety roundtable. They had a young brother on yesterday, a great young black therapist named Jean Semmelfort. Jr., who did a whole dissection of how the call was handled for Najee. And then Najee, even in the midst of his crisis, one of the things he said, and this is in the clip that was released, he got a fuller look at it by virtue of his credentials, I imagine. Right? At some point, Najee even said that y'all not even answering the right questions. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And his team was on the scene. And Teddy Martinez, Teddy's been on the show, right? His wife is one of the pioneers of this kind of training in the Patterson community, Barbara Martinez, right? Teddy was on the show with his leader, Dr. Lisa Chowdhury, some time ago when they were just really putting down their stories. But Teddy's on the scene showing the lead officer the text messages, man. And the kid just said, all I need to do is hear your voices and see your faces, and I'll come out.
Mm-hmm.
It's
disgraceful to happen?
Disgraceful.
And why are we being wishy-washy, Mayor Sag? Why are we being wishy-washy, Passaic County Prosecutor? Why are we being wishy-washy, divided City Council, Patterson, about calling for accountability in a situation like that? That's screaming. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I mean, we known for our uprising in 67. Y'all can stick your heads in the snow all you want. But if Patterson goes up in smoke, then what y'all gonna say then? Though y'all gonna come calling for the violence interventionists? What you gonna do? It's that delicate. It's that delicate. So we really need I'm very proud of Zelly. Zelly's been very resilient, very forthright. He's been Faith of New Jersey is another ally in this work. Has been helping them, trying to have meetings with council people, right? Because that council needs to be turned around. City council meeting is going to be packed. Folks who can go out there, any Patterson heads on the end of this line of 6 o'clock, City Hall next Tuesday. You need to do that. You need to be there, right? The work continues. So that tomorrow, as we say goodbye to somebody who will stand up in this. And remember, too, Ed, Senator Rice is also the lead officer and the very vocal lead officer for the Black Legislative Caucus.
Right.
He took on all the bills. The reparations bill, he took them all on.
Right.
Took them all on, right? Who's going to stand in those shoes? The answer should be everybody. See?
That's right.
Because that's what the United Front looks like. And that's how a United Front wields people's power, right? When we all stand up, right? So Shavonda and Benji and Spearman and you name them, right? Y'all need to look at each other, right? Do like we used to do back when we had the marches and we lock our arms, right? And say we're gonna all step up,
right, and
do this, right? And we're gonna challenge our colleagues who ain't Black and brown to dare to do that too, right? That's right. It's the kind of thing, that tears a country apart. And some of our important bills in those really heavy turning points in our history, have what they call bipartisan character. Yeah. For all of our white Republican friends who say they're not racist, damn it, show me, don't tell me.
Right.
Don't tell. Show me. Don't tell me you're not racist while you banning Toni Morrison in Westfield. Show me what's your stand on A1515.
They're even banning Hank Aaron.
Come on.
That's how racist they got down there. Couldn't agree more.
Jim, it's been a blast. Sum up what takeaways you want us to have as we wind this segment up. And of course, we got to ask you that ritual question. We didn't get a chance to ask me the ritual question, Ed. Right?
Yeah. She was on fire, man.
So, yeah, she was blazing too, and I'm very proud of her.
And I have to say, as a hip hop head, it was an honor to follow her. So yeah. So thank you for that. But yeah, the last words I would to say is, Zaid, you know me, I'm trained as an organizer, so I'm always thinking of that mind piece. And what I want to say to people, you know, we're all infuriated and hurting and wanting to take action after what we saw happen in Patterson a couple weeks ago. And what I would say to people that are watching, we all have the power to do that. Get on your phone, call your legislators, tell them we want police accountability now, right? They get a bunch of phone calls on car thefts and they made bills on it. So let's blast their phones and tell us accountability now. We need the bills now. We also need to, like I said before, we need to stop these harms before they happen with non-law enforcement intervention units. And like I said, call your legislators and organize 10 to 20 of your friends to do the same. That's what, in the short term, I think that's what we can do to make the most difference.
And that's both sides of the whole issue of addressing this whole thing with the police and public safety, right? We need accountability on the one hand, and we need what reimagining looks like, right? Patterson Healing Collective is a proven example of what the other side, the community side of public safety looks like. The Newer Community Street Team, right? My executive director from Equal Justice USA, Jami Hans, dropped a beautiful story on what we've got going on here in Newark. There's a reason why homicides are at a 60-year low. And it ain't just because police riding around busting people upside the head. That is not the answer. It's because we have a Newark Street team. It's because we have a Newark Street Academy. It's because we have a hub. It's because we have all these things in places that are fully engaged and targeting the most difficult areas where we have the most violence, trying to get some things done, turning heads around in real time. Around the violence. Now, the other side, of course, is also to have the state invest in our underserved and oppressed and under-resourced communities so folks can live better, right? Get better pay for the work that they need to do, have more access to education than they do guns and drugs, right? That's the piece that definitely needs to be lifted up. So let a new generation come forward. Let this generation put forth the kind of pressure that needs to be had on those who have the power to do, and let's see what we can make happen. So as we go out, Jim, you know we got to ask you the question.
I know.
Even though he remembers that. Go ahead and ask him, man.
So Jim, you know, I mean, I'm with everything we going through, man. What is that one song from hip hop that's, you know, giving you, you know, some energy, man, and keeping you going that you listening to?
So yeah, the one. So for me, I think my go-to when I'm getting fired up is the Coup, and they have a song called the Guillotine. And it's a very militant song. I've been listening to the Coup since I was a teenager. So a lot of my political education actually came from Boots Riley and the Coup. So the Guillotine or anything from the Coup is usually my go-to song, especially in moments like this when I'm feel like feeling fired up and I want to do some things. So yeah, the Coup and Boots Riley, always going back to them.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's good, Jim.
Right.
Listen, man, we appreciate your contribution, man, and you know, just stay in the fight, man. You know what I mean?
The ACLU's been bringing them. I'm very proud of my crew in the ACLU, right? Yeah. Adam, Gene, Sarah, all of them. You know, they come and they get down. I'm very proud of them.
Yep. Well, thank you,
my brother.
Right on. Remember Tuesday, 6 o'clock, 155. I forgot the Market Street, 155 Market Street for Patterson City Council meeting. Right, April 4th, the Dr. King demonstration is going to be centered on the family survivors of police brutality. And I have to get that family from Patterson to come on out. We got Bernard Placide's family. We got Carl Dorsey's family. We've got Philip Pinnell's little sister Natasha Pinnell, and a number of other families that are going to be with us. We're going to center that as we honor the life of Dr. King. My generation is the last generation to see Dr. King alive, and it's important that we uphold why his legacy is entirely important. April 4th, 5 o'clock, the Martin Luther King Memorial. Be there, right? Right on, Jim. Good to see you. Good to have you. Right? Tell the team I said, hey, right? We got work to do next week. We'll see you in a bit.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jim. All right.
Right on. Woo, baby, what a show. What a show.
Yep.
What a show. Where's the great DJ Rhino?
Yeah, where's he at, man? You know what I mean?
Oh, he ain't here. I was winding down right on time, 8:15.
Yeah, I know. I don't see him, so I think we're gonna have to text him.
Yeah, check out our young G. Right, because Jim pulled one out of the hat. I haven't heard anybody talk about the coup in a minute, and they came and hit it, bam, hard, real quick. And then as that goes, the industry, it's not terribly, doesn't look terribly favorable on our more progressive voices in hip hop. So they didn't get heard the way they should have gotten heard. But for those of us who did hear, we got down with it. So it was great that he ended on that.
Right.
Yeah, so it'd be great to have the Rhino come in with all of his loaded messaging on the latest in the land of hip hop. This is as we do that though. Then I'm gonna come back to Senator Rice because we really his departure is really something to process. It really is.
Yeah. Did you get down there to?
Not yet. I'm gonna take a minute tomorrow. And, try and go early. But it's his
loss.
Get
down there early. So normally, if it's at 10 o'clock, I think they'll let people view around 9.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe you get
really
down there.
About the process. He was indeed a rare voice.
Right.
He wasn't nobody's radical, but what made him so important was not so much his radical stand, the fact that he was willing to take a stance.
Yeah. And
places that required you having the courage and the principle to take a stance.
Right. And the thing is, the things I used to see him, he would even go and challenge the council, man. You know what I mean?
Sure did.
I would go down there and speak before the council. I was like, wow, I mean, he's a sitting senator, and he would go and challenge the council, man. And if there was something in the city that he didn't think was right, he'd go in there and he'd voice his opinion based around that.
Sure did.
Which is interesting, man. So, I mean, brother's gonna be missed, but I think that what Curtis Farrell was saying tonight is important. Who's coming behind him, though?
That's right.
Right.
That's my point precisely.
Who is the next Ron Rice? Right. Who is that person? And we're not talking about legacy. We're not talking about his daughter or his sons. Right. We're not talking about that. We're talking about who is
life he lived.
Right. Somebody who saw the light and the torch that he was carrying. Who's coming behind him to pick that up?
And go ahead. Don't finish this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And the point I'm making, Zaid, that's the problem with all Black organizations, right? If you think about that, is even a problem with Like It Is. How come Like It Is no longer going on, right? And I remember when you and Bashir went there, sat with him, with Gil Noble when he was alive. You know how important that show was to our development consciously?
It's a life.
And so that speaks to what I'm saying about Ron Rice. Who's next? Where's Gil Noble? Right? Mm-hmm. Where's Positively Black? Right? Mm-hmm. Where's all of that at? And for us, the only drum that we really have is this: all politics are local. Where's the other drums at in Newark? Where they at?
That's for sure.
And it's almost as though we don't have these kind of conversations, and then when something happened, we want to be reactionary to it.
Yeah.
And I think what Jim was speaking to is, and if we talk about what Zelly and them are doing, we can't be reactionary, man.
That's right.
And that's one of the reasons I think that why the police move in the way they move against us, right? Is because we're never really organized in the way that Kwame talked about or in the way that Amiri talked about, right? We're not organized. And so it's easy for people to move against us. And so we're never going to really make the police do what they want to do, because what we want them to do is because we always come into the point where we got to get organized to come and do that, right? And that presents a problem. That presents a problem to us, you know, and we've got to think about it, you know. And at the end of the day, Zaid, I'm telling you, man, these cops are not going to stop killing us, right? They're not going to stop doing that because they don't think there's any consequences to it,
Exactly.
right? And if you don't think that there's a price that you have to pay, why would you stop? And at this particular point in our sojourn, you know, we got, you know, when you think about Senator Rice, all of the old soldiers, they dying off of the field. And most of them have to stay.
I just lost a comrade from the party. His name is Lawrence Hayes. We call him Ghana. His African name was Ghana. He was one of the last persons to be on death row in New York. I have a long, outstanding historical essay to write on the party's relationship with the death row. Because a lot of folks don't realize that we have won and lost people on death row in the Black Panther Party. We lost Zion Israel and then the Jamal Nasser. We could have lost Huey. We could have lost Angela. At the death penalty was on the table for Angela Davis, right? Mumia Abu Jamal, we finally got him off of death row, but it was a damn sure dangerous place to be. And so you know, Ghana's just a few years older than I am. You know, Ghana Hayes, a beautiful brother who I've never been able to bring to New York to Jersey because of his parole stipulations. But everybody's getting older. Everybody's getting older, and some of us have been through so much that the aging process in itself is brutal for some of us, just by virtue of so much that we've been through. Right? You and I have an athletic background that did much to preserve us, thankfully, and a spiritual background that we got hold of, right, when we really needed it, right? That definitely key in getting us through. But a lot of us haven't gotten through, and a lot of us, and may not. So it's important that we claim who we claim and we get. And then the thing is that, I don't expect everyone to come and be exactly like Ronald Rice.
Right.
We can distill what we all can appreciate about Ronald Rice, and that was his character, his integrity, and his courage. We can all carry some of that, right? And it doesn't have to be one person. It could be the Black delegation together.
Right.
Take it to a whole nother place.
Right.
Take it to a whole nother. What did Felipe tell us when we had the kids talking about Black and brown unities? The only way we were able to take this town was when we were united. And if you don't take your unity serious, you can lose this town, just like we've been losing in other spaces to the advance of the right wing.
Right. And Zaid, that's why, that conversation you and I are having all the time about a Black United Front becomes important. Right? It becomes extremely important. And I'm telling you, Zaid, and I've been saying this to the mayor, right, for the ever since he's been in office, right? It's up to us, man. I'm telling you this, and I'm talking about in our town, particularly in Newark.
That's right.
If we're going to make it, Zaid, it's going to be based on this generation, right? Based on what we do, because the elders are falling off, man.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
You think about you even think about Cleopatra Tucker, right? She's an elder,
80
man.
She's 80 next month.
Right. And so you got to think about where's Cleopatra Tucker and follow? Who's coming behind that? Right?
Absolutely.
And we got to look at, those brothers and sisters who are now in the legislature, like, where's your Black power stance? right? Where you coming from on that? And so that's why the question you asked today, when you were saying about the Black Legislative Caucus, like, okay, who's gonna pick that that baton up and run with it to keep organizing it from a Black perspective? Because even if you think about the other sister who's down there that we've had on, she's an elder herself, man. The sister with the gray hair. She's been on the show a couple of times with us. But she's powerful. She's from South Jersey down there,
Okay, was Senator Turner?
No, it wasn't Turner.
Congresswoman.
Yeah, yeah.
Bessie Coleman, Bessie Coleman, yeah.
Yep. Because even when she was on, remember, she was saying that we need to have this meeting. She was saying, she was saying, no, we, but you got to think, Zaid, again, these are our elders, man.
That's right.
And it seemed like
they gets it.
Right. And it seemed like the young brothers and sisters who are on the field, I mean, they have no energy at all, man. And this is why
more important, don't have a vision, and that's what's really important.
And this is why these brothers and sisters are dying on the field, brother.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so we we've got to figure out a way. And unfortunately, Zaid, all of us know that this is tiring work, right? Because what you have now is the new revolutionaries that are on the field, they want to be paid. They want a paycheck to come do what we've done for free, right? They want a pension now, right? And that's not what this work has been about. I mean, you think, Malcolm didn't die with a pension, right? Malcolm didn't die with a 401 plan, right?
Martin didn't. Matter of fact, most of them probably died financially challenged.
Right. All of them did, right? But we all stand on their shoulders. But I'm telling you, Zaid, a conversation I had with some very talented people, right? And I said to them down there, I was saying, I said, can y'all come and help us do this? And they said, well, how much y'all gonna pay us? And I said, well, hold on a second. I said, but don't you see the need to do something? I mean, you have this talent. Don't you see the need to be able to do that? And these are people who will call me for free advice. And when I said, well, do this for the movement, they're like, yeah, but what's the movement gonna pay me? And no, I can't sign up for that, right?
They made the ones that we needed,
right? But Zaid,
but we need somebody.
What I'm saying, yes. Right? But here's what's gonna happen, Zaid. When somebody come and hit their kids in the head, they're gonna come right to brothers and sisters in the street to come to them, right? Because when they're not getting any justice and they don't have anyone who can put it before, put the pressure on before folk, they come into folks like us to help give them.
You got that right.
Right. But while they have an opportunity to do something to help our people and to move us forward, they're not willing to do it. I'm telling you, these are very people who would claim, right, that what brought them to the level of consciousness where they got the kind of education they got. They would say, oh, I read Malcolm's book, man. Oh, I read the autobiography, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Bible tells us that your gift will make room for you. And anybody will tell you that you do the work and the opportunity will show up at the appropriate time. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity, to see Loudmouth and which chronicles Al Sharpton's life. And however we feel about him, good, bad, or indifferent, the fact is he's been showing up for a long time. And just to see, so it's not what do I want to say? Uncommon that the opportunities that have opened the door so much later in his latter part of his life. I mean, he's been doing that since probably like 16 or 13 years old. And and those early years, it was showing up as Bishop Jakes would say for a piece of chicken and some collard greens.
Right. But But that's the thing. Organizing takes work, right? It's not something that you do or come to lightly, right? Organizing takes work, and that's why people, and remember, what's that saying that people say? Ku Klux Klan have children, and so they got Ku Klux Klan juniors now, right? You muted, Zaid. So all these
and
people,
grandchildren. Oh yeah,
and grandchildren,
yeah.
right?
And they're going around killing people.
Yeah. So these people are on deck, and what we got to realize is that I'm gonna tell y'all something that's incredible, right? So we were having this conversation, y'all, about the institutions that we thought would still be around, right? And one of those institutions that we thought would still be around would be something like an Ebony magazine or a Jet magazine.
Jet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Or a Black Enterprise, right?
And I was about to say, well, Black Enterprise is still in other print, but yeah, it's
right. But you thought that but remember how big they and how large they were, right? When the parents were alive.
And their February conference was, yeah.
You see how long. I mean, you think about when they were publishing those publications, when things were going on in our community, you could always go to those publications and find that information that we needed to find. Those kind of publications, and the other piece is that we're not willing to pay for our freedom, right? And remember, Malcolm said that the struggle must be financed.
That's right.
But we're not willing to do that.
We don't sacrifice the resources that we have at our disposal,
right,
for the advance of our own institutions. And
we're not willing to do that. And then the other problem is that this generation has produced children who are not revolutionarily conscious, right? Think about it. If you look at 50-year-olds and talk to their children who are 20, their children are dead, man. They don't want nothing to do with the movement. They don't want to go to no meetings, right? They don't want to, they don't want to be a part of, they don't even want to be a part of voting, right? Some of these kids you talk to, right? Because they don't see the actual value in that. And so part of that problem becomes some of these 50-year-olds, and a lot of these 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds are already grandparents, man.
Indeed. Mm-hmm.
And what are they producing, man? So that's why I say all the time, Zaid, and I said, and I've been saying this to the mayor, Donna, right? And Rhino, welcome to the show. Is that it's up to us, man, right? It's good. What happens now is going to live and die with us, right? We've got to make a decision as the 50 and 60-year-olds, man, how we going to play this out, right? Because the 80-year-olds, and now Minister Farrakhan almost 90, they're going to die on the field, right? They dying on the field, and we got young people who don't want nothing to do with the field.
And I think when it comes to us, that's always the case. It's always going to be on us, man. We're the only ones that's going to really be able to dig ourselves out of what we're in. You know what I mean? Because we're never going to get the full, complete help from other people. You know what I'm saying? Never going to get that, ever, because everybody else has their own agenda for their own.
That's
you know what I mean? So it's totally on us, really, to get ourselves out of anything that we're in.
But that's wise, though, right? I mean, when you take a photograph, the first person you look at in the picture is yourself. Then you look at everybody else. But our problem is that we busy trying to make sure everybody else is taken care of before we take care of ourselves and our community. That's why, as Dr. Smalls would say, that's why we still dead last, right? We still dead last because we busy talking about everybody. Principal Capele sent me a text one time, Zaid, and he said this.
Back on too.
Yeah, and he said to me, he said, come we always say black and brown, but we don't have brown people saying brown and black? Why is that? Thought about that.
We always include other people, but they don't include us.
Right. We say it, but I'm not. And he said, "You never heard him say that, do you?" No.
Yeah.
But when that happens, it's mutual recognition of the power that we have in each other.
Right. Mm-hmm. But we're not saying it, right? But we picked up on it, right? Because we recognize, what's going to happen to this country, that black and brown people, right, are going to be the largest number of people in this country. Mm-hmm. We get it. But it would be nice to hear other people refer to us in their conversation, right?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. All right, Rhino, it's your show, my brother.
Yes, what's happening in the land of hip hop, beloved?
Not much, really, man. I mean, me and my family, me and my squad, we all celebrated Tame One's born day this past Monday. You see the artifact shirt I got on.
Yes.
Got rest in peace to Tame One and rest in peace to DJ Chaos. Elder Sensei is the last one standing right now out of the artifacts. Big ups to El. But yeah, so March 20th was Tame One Day, so there was a whole lot of folks on online, on social media and all of that, throwing up all of their pictures with Tame One or pictures of Tame One, clips of him on stage or photos of his artwork and stuff like that. There's actually some Tame One merch that's available right now for a limited time.
I have it on my page. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can place your orders at managermad@gmail.com. That's manager MAD@gmail.com, and just place your order there and set it up. You can do Cash App or whatever. Depending on how close you are, if you're local, she can deliver it to you. If not, they have the whole shipping information and all that. It's on my Instagram as well and on my Facebook. But so the Tame merch is going out. We got the posters, T-shirts, with all his artwork, man. Tame was doing graph for so long, man. When we met, we were both doing graph,
mm-hmm.
And he was, him and my man Malik Mania, they've been pros since the preteens,
Yo, let me ask you a question, Rhino. Was Tame an artist? Like, I mean, did he get training? Did he go to school for that?
Well, he did go to Arts High. He went to Arts. Yeah, him and Malik Mania, they both went to Arts High.
Because I was looking at some of his stuff that you posted, man. Yo, it was dope, man.
Yeah, man. Tame was dope, man. And I just watched him progress. When we met, we were probably like 12, 13 when we first linked up. But yeah, I just watched him progress. I got all his earliest stuff. I got the early works before he was even that dope. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I got his early stuff. And then, but yeah, just, over the years, man, I just watched him progress, man, to a master at his craft. You know what I mean?
I was impressed, man, with some of the stuff he posted, man. I was like, wow, this brother is good, man.
Yeah, man. And he was the art part of, he said it in one of his rhymes that, he was the art part of Artifacts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely on top of his game, man. He was fully fledged in that, man. Like that was he lived and breathed that, you know what I mean?
He reminded me of that other guy, man. What was the other brother we celebrated when we was in the studio? Remember the one where that big mural is, in the back. What was that brother's name?
I'm not
Remember,
sure.
he was an artist. Remember, we celebrated him at the studio, man.
Oh, Jerry Gant, you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jerry Gant was legendary, man.
Yeah, but I was looking at Tame stuff. I was like, whoa. I mean, we had some brothers in our community who really had the skills, man.
Yeah. And back in the day, it's funny. And Jerry's from out here, but when I first met Jerry, I met him in New York City at an art gallery,
right?
At the Fun Gallery, where Patty Astor and all of the great graffiti artists and and other artists like Keith Haring and and Basquiat, all of them used to hang out over there and stuff. And that's where I met Jerry Gant.
Right.
Yeah. But and back then, Jerry was doing graph.
Right.
Yeah.
Jerry was a sweet story.
Yeah, man.
Jerry's a really sweet story. Jerry was a knucklehead.
I know.
No, I'm making it plain. I'm saying this out of love. He's my little brother.
Yeah.
Jerry was a knucklehead who was a gifted artist, right? Mm-hmm. But when his art inspiration died by being a knucklehead, right? Mm-hmm. That woke his ass up. That he couldn't quite keep his tongue out of his stuff, right? So he ultimately caught up with him with his health, but it made him place greater value on his life and his art, right? And we've been talking about legacy. One of the things that Jerry was concerned with once he really began to blow up as an artist was about his artistic legacy. What happens to all of our artwork when we transition, right? And he took responsibility for that, right? And had Pink Dragon take care of his estate, and she got his stuff going on all over the place. Took responsibility for that, and not too many in our generation do that, right? So I appreciate it. Jerry, this stuff is everywhere. Some of this stuff is still around.
Exactly. And same thing with Tame. Tame got stuff all over Newark, man. And that was the sad thing with Tame, because I think Tame was getting close to that point where he was beginning to start to see like the value in his years. You know what I'm saying? He was starting to see the value in his years in hip hop and in the art and the graffiti and all of that, the music and everything. But he just didn't get to that point, man, to kind of reinvent himself like Jerry did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Rhino, that's why I was speaking to that. It's like okay, we had Tame, but now where's Tame 2 at? Right? Like who's, he had all that talent, right? And what's happening is that when we're leaving the field, all of our talent is leaving with us, right?
Yeah.
It'd have been great if Tame was teaching some sort of community school, maybe once or twice a week, about how he saw graffiti, how he saw his art, right, and how it influenced his hip hop and and all of that. And now, there's a Tame 2. Yeah, the brother's gone, but there's somebody else, that can carry on his legacy. And we don't really have that. That's why what Queen Latifah said at the Harriet Tubman thing, she was saying that when Haqq told her to get involved, with the Harriet Tubman piece in the park, he said it wasn't about money. He said, let's don't talk about money. He said, but let's talk about your legacy, right? What is Latifah leaving behind? And she thought, wow, that's deep. I'm conscious about making sure people pay me to appear, pay me to use my voice, but my voice being a part of this project, wow, that's legacy, right? And that's what happened, because if not for you, Rhino, then who carry your brother on, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying about, the like it is of the world, right? I mean, you think about Gil is gone, man, but where's Gil too? Why didn't somebody keep carrying that on?
Yeah.
Right?
It took that sister. They came up with that Here and Now, which is like it's not even like it is light. It's just a light show. All due respect, right? But they are just beginning to mention Gil Noble out of their mouth in his archives.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, and I think that's why a lot of times you don't see that continuation, because a lot of times that's what happens. It gets watered down. You know what I'm saying? And the real people don't want to see nothing watered down. If it's not going to be the pure like they know it to be, they're not going to want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta say this. There was a lyric that Tame had where he said, "There is no Tame 2." So
wow,
there's no Tame 2.
Wow.
Well, Tame next.
Yeah.
Next
but,
Tame.
but I know what you're saying, though. I mean, as far as just being able to pass the legacy and pass that knowledge and information down, that's always important. But again, I think Tame was getting close to that. He left us at a point where he didn't get to that point, to that mark. He didn't make that mark. But I really believe he was on his way, because I just remember just some of the last times, speaking with him and just just hearing what he had to say about certain things, man, and hip hop and how he saw things. He was really starting to see things from his true age. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You know what I mean? He was starting to
mature.
realize how old he is in the game and everything that he's experienced and all of that. So yeah, I think he was getting there, man, But yeah, we just lost him a little too early, man.
Yeah. That's the way I think about all these brothers, man. When you think about that brother from De La Soul, right?
Yeah, man.
And you think about Dave and all and I'm just saying
we lost him too. Well, he lost himself too early, man. Really was like because they just got all of their rights to all of their music and everything, man.
Right.
You know what I mean, and he couldn't be here to to enjoy that.
Right. And that's my point, right? Like, and I said this before you came on, Rhino. What happens is that, we were having this conversation with, when the show started with Ali. In our culture, right? Even if you work somewhere 30 years, the black man very rarely gets a chance to enjoy retirement or a pension, right? Because he's down in his 50s, man.
Yeah, even earlier than that. Yeah.
Right. If you make it that long, right? So I'm saying,
push retirement to what, 70?
Yeah, right.
They're trying to do that.
So for black people for black men to be able to get there, remember, because we're fighting police violence, we're fighting racism, we're fighting health conditions, right?
All landlords, all of everything.
Yeah. So we got all of the isms.
You can't become a firing teachers for teaching Black history. All this mess. You can't get away from this stuff.
So you think about all of that, and if you got a guy who is as talented as Tame, right? He can't purely focus on his talent because he got all this other shit he got to worry about too.
Right. And he was dealing with that too, before he passed. He was working a regular job, and this is a brother, man. He's had regular jobs before when we were younger, but for the most part, that wasn't even Tame, man. Tame was such a rapper and such a dude that was just out there, man, in the culture and in his craft and what he did. I know it was kind of touching him, man, just to have to be out there and have a regular job. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, for me, I also felt good. I felt that part of it, but I also felt good because I knew he was at a point of where he was just having to deal with responsibility and being a grown man and just having to deal with life and get his things together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was, I felt good about that, but I know at the same time, him being who he was and who he's been in the game, that would hit him sometimes.
Right.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
But that's why I told Zaid before you came on too, man, that when Malcolm said the struggle has to be financed, right? We got brothers and sisters who are talented, right? But our problem is that we won't. And remember, and I'm gonna tell you something I discovered. I didn't even know that there. Did you know, Zaid, that there's an actual building downtown Newark for artists that you can get housing, you can get space, and all of this downtown in Newark, straight across the street from Bryant Street. Did y'all know that?
Nah.
I went in there.
Across from Bradford Street?
Yeah, remember where there used to be an old movie theater. As a matter of fact, that side street you go down where they close it off to do to do parties in that street.
Mm-hmm.
Right there where the Prudential Center is.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you there's a building right there on the corner, right? And they I'm telling you, man, they got space in there, they got housing in there, right? And they give it to
housing.
you for 2 years if you qualify for 2 years.
Wow.
I went in there and saw that. It's a nonprofit. I didn't even know it existed in Newark, man. And I said, whoa. I said, well, how many brothers and sisters who are artists and graffiti artists don't know nothing about this place, man? Right? And then they help put you in situations with connections and all of that stuff. I mean, who knew, man? Right?
Yeah.
And they got a gallery in there so you can present your stuff. You can do shows and all of that. They help you put it all together. right? And they give you 2 years, right, to help you put it, and you can get an extension if you need to get your stuff started.
That's crazy. I
And you
didn't
got,
about
I'm telling you,
I got to put my hands on some of that.
you got to
yeah,
go
yeah,
there.
I
You
need
got
the
to go
information
there
on
and look at it, brother. Right? I mean, it blew me away, man, when I saw some of the artists that was in there, and I said, "Whoa!" I said,
Do
"This
you
is."
know what? You name some? Can you name some?
No, I can't name them offhand, but I
what building exactly is like what
right
do you
there
know
on that corner,
the
right
number?
when you right on Broad Street, right, and if you going, you know how you come across Broad Street going into that side street,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's that first building right there on the left hand corner. Right,
Wow.
it's inconspicuous and everything, right? But they renovated the whole place, man. You go in there, all of these artists got their own rooms, they got their own galleries in there, right? And it's an amazing thing, man.
We need something like that for artists at the back end of their lives.
I had an opportunity to go
Yeah.
in there and saw it, man. I said, "Whoa, this is in Newark," you know,
That's crazy.
and blew me away, man. I mean, I got some of the, you know, they gave me some stuff when I was in there and all of that, man. But I'm gonna talk to Ricardo was the one who took me there. Zaid.
Okay.
And next time we come
When he
on,
come, we need to get him on the show.
yeah, I'm gonna try to get you know him to give us that information or the contact and see if we can get that lady on to talk about, you know, us being able to share that information in our community.
Yeah.
And somebody looks so much different. Ain't in the car, all these shadows and whatnot. Got that big old juicy face. So you can see her now. Look at her. Come on, madam. Come on and say something to
Juicy
her.
face.
You know, Fridays is like woo. But I will tell you, Rhino, you just talking about thing one. Ghost, the show that's now about his son started back up. And Method plays the
lawyer.
Plays the attorney. Now his Method's man, that he rap with, Redman. So Redman is on set too. But just to see them sit, like Method Man comes into jail, you know, as an attorney talking to Redman, his character, and I was like, wow, this is big. You know, looking at that, how many years, you know, and they still putting each other on, you know, with on
It's crazy to
business
see how
too.
far hip hop came, right?
Yeah, that right there, that
You watching
picture.
movies and TV shows with your favorite hip hop heroes playing their role.
That's right.
Honestly, man, when you think about it, I mean, you know, a lot of times, you know, because we're older now and we got kids and we got family, so some of our choices and decisions get a little more conservative as we get older. But
more
you know, the real deal is, man, these were our hip hop heroes, man, and these are the things that we dreamed of back in the day. We dreamed of being able to see something like that take place, to be able to see
and Method Man with his
things like that. You know what I mean?
His acting, he got some serious acting skill. Method is serious. Method Man is really with the acting. His skills is really, you know. And he's done several movies now, but I was just, you know, really proud.
I think a lot of them when they first get into it, they, you know, they just got to polish it up because they you know, none of them went to acting school or anything like that. So
right.
you know, they just in the role.
But
the more you do
all
it,
the videos,
the more you do it, and the more real actors that you
meet anyway. It's just a matter of fine tuning. Yes.
Yeah. And I guess also because what's it, Ice-T? Ice-T said when the writer of Law and Order came to him, he was.
Oh, now she just got home. I want to lift up one of my teachers. His name is.
Give me a second. My Wi-Fi. Dick Wolf said to Ice-T, "Well, be the cop that you need, that you will want to see." And that's the character he became. because he was gonna turn down the role, but then Dick Wolf was like, "Well, be the cop that you want to see."
Yeah.
So, and I
A
think
good
that's
actor can do
what.
that. A good
Say it
actor can
again.
take a good actor can take a character who was on the page and turn him into something that's not on the page.
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
That's what a good actor. That's the mark of a good actor. Right.
Right.
And that's and then when
But
you
your
give it
team
the
got to
space
support
for
that.
that,
The team has to
really go
support
up.
that as well, because they could have told him no. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They may have wanted him to be a dirty cop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
So your team got to be able to
Yeah.
support that
They
as well.
recognize his value.
Right.
Yeah. Dick
Right? They
Wolf. Yeah, I have to
recognize his
say,
value.
yeah, he
And
did.
y'all mentioned Queen Latifah. I want to lift up one of my teachers. His name is Melvin Williams, who actually gave Queen some theatric training. Right, Melvin. He's in his 70s now, but he still teaches. I wish I had time to go back to him.
And Queen, just think of her, something coming out of hip hop. She has done theater. She has done Broadway. She
done it
has
all.
done,
She's done everything.
She's done everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Right out of their offices in
And
Jersey City. Their office in Jersey City.
Yeah, a little kid out of Newark, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, talk about fighting in hip hop. You know, I always love that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a spicy little thing, right? Mm-hmm. Motorcycle, all that, right? Doing Bessie Smith.
Yeah.
Yes. Smith. And got into that role. She did that thing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And for actor, when an actor they have to uncover themselves and get into that that role. That was something. But Mia X, when she came on earlier, and you were talking about her book, Zaid, her book is the whole book is one poem.
That's right.
That's what you were saying?
We call a serial poem. It's a poem in parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in parts. It's a serial poem. It's like some 19-20 parts, right? And it's all about Newark. It's very Newark centered piece, right? It's a poem in 22 parts. It's called a serial poem. Norky, you get that source of knowledge, right? I was so proud when I saw that. I said, my girl got a book out, and the store had it. Half the time they don't have the books I want. I'll be fussing at it.
Now, Zaid, it's called Norky, Norky.
Norky.
Right. Can you go to page 1, to the first page, not to prelude? Like, can you just go to page 1, just read the first couple of No, can you go like where it starts and just read like the first 2 lines
of a poem?
Yeah, just where it starts. The first
poem?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see. That's hard to see on the
I
screen.
said, can you read the first 2 lines?
Oh. I ain't gonna do it justice because one is short and one is long, right? Number 1, she rose up from a crack in the ground. She was torn. Her thorns shined blue under the streetlights. She grew through and beyond shadows lurking the white black of her mind. Her reality was gray. See, you can't go. You can't stop. You gotta go.
Well, you can stop there because that's it's very colorful and creative. And I remember when Sister Soldier and just her books, and I remember when she what's the book that everybody read by Sister Soldier? The Coldest Winter Ever. How many? I think I read that book in like 8 hours. A book that captivates you, and it's so. And it made me think of Prince Street, and it made me think of people that I have met that grew up down on Prince Street. Like you could see characters in the book, which obviously means that she saw people that she, and I remember we have wanted her to take her book, The Coldest Winter Ever. We wanted to do it in a poem in a play with Frankie Faison, but we never got to do it.
She's a great hip hop star.
Mm-hmm.
Right? First, I just lost a comrade last year named Marion Pitts. Marion used to kind of be up under me at Rutgers Newark, and she transferred to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and ran into this sister named Lisa Williamson. Right? And they picked up the anti-apartheid mantle at Rutgers, New Brunswick. We already had it on fire for decades in Newark, right? And that's how Marion had become an organizer behind Lisa Williamson. And then when they came out, Lisa put together an organization called the National African Youth Student Alliance, right? And they needed somebody to come in and watch it back periodically, and just somebody that needed some more brothers around. And Marion called me in to come help cover down on the Queen. And then she started developing, by virtue of her activism, she started having these relationships with these hip hop artists who were just kind of wild, and so she thought, in their music, and particularly this group in Long Island that would become Public Enemy. She started feeding them some stuff, right? And they made a sharp turn, right? And blew up, and as only Public Enemy could blow up. And then, of course, when she blows up as a voice in our community and gets attacked by the Bill Clintons of the land and gets left hanging by that generation of black leaders, she stepped back. She strategically stepped back and took a dive into writing like none of us knew about, and gave us the first definitive hip hop. Now, I wasn't those regular just street throw together stories, but a definitive piece that was critically acclaimed from all quarters, turned it into a series, totally reinvented itself, and created another original lane in the emergence of and the maturation of hip hop culture. And in between that, she would be with people like Puff, doing their fundraise, doing their charity, and created those summer camps where black kids was getting some politics and some consciousness. She's a great hip hop story.
Mm-hmm.
I miss her dearly. I don't know. I can't put my hands on. I don't know how she's rolling that, but I wish I could. But she's a wonderful hip. And we used to argue because I was, I had a thing for the music of the 60s and the 70s, and she couldn't understand. It's too soft. I said, man, we used to go at. I said, you can't hate the Delphonics and the Ohio Players. You can't hate that. You gotta love it.
As we come to the close, we have announcements, and if we can, and as you close, can we just announce the cancellation of the event at the library or Zaid, and why? But if we can close and let everybody know again.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to host a powerful gathering tomorrow on the New Jersey voting rights bill. It's supposed to be part 2 of our John Lewis Voting Rights Symposium. We're going to have to reschedule that because we want to give honor and respect to our fallen Senator Ronald Rice and have folks go to his services and give him his last final due. So that's important to appreciate. Coming up also Tuesday, Paterson, New Jersey, 155 Market Street, City Council meeting. Turn it up for Najee Seabrooks. April 4th, the anniversary of the assassination of the drum major for justice, Dr. Martin Luther King. 5 o'clock, Martin Luther King Memorial. We're taking the streets, we're shutting it down, and we're putting the family survivors of police brutality at its center.
DJ Rhino?
Tomorrow is the very last day for the Digger's Dream. The Digger's Dream is a thing that's been going on for the past 3 weeks where we're selling vinyl. We're selling vinyl albums.
Oh, I missed my records.
Yeah, we're selling vinyl albums, man. Me and my man Dutch 40 set up his living room, man. It got so many records, man. People been coming through, man. The first week we had a crazy week. This week just turned out to be a crazy week. Tomorrow's the last day. It's 215 Weekway Avenue here in Newark. 215 Weekway Avenue, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We may stay open a little bit later because it's Saturday, but from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. come through. There's still a lot of good stuff. We got a whole wall full of soul, funk, and jazz. Soul, funk, and R&B. And then every other wall in that place is every era of jazz, every style of jazz. It's so much, man. It's so much.
You taking me back to my jazz DJ stuff that I used to do right there at Rutgers, Newark. Right.
Man, You would lose your mind if you saw this stuff, Zaire, man. If you saw all of the stuff he had, just jazz.
Where is this at? And where's this at, DJ Rhino?
215 Weekway Avenue. 215 Weekway Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. It's called the Digger's Dream. That's me and my man Dutch 40. I'll be there tomorrow between those times, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Also tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'll be doing the Shake Up, the usual, on twitch.tv/RhinoCMZ. Catch me at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon doing the Shake Up. I'm going to be doing, since it's going to be it's the last Saturday of the month, I'm going to be doing basically a tribute to the ladies, to the women. So we're going to do that for Women's History Month. So we're going to close it out like that for tomorrow. Yeah, and that's it for me.
For Women's History Month for my dailies and shit.
And Ed, you gonna take us out?
Yep. You said it already, Zaid. You don't have any other things you want to add?
No, that's it. That's it.
All right. So obviously we want to thank all of our guests tonight. Thank everyone for coming on the show. You know,
Brother Farrell was huge.
Yep. We appreciate it. Brother Farrell coming on tonight with the disciples. We appreciate the disciples coming through. And we most certainly appreciate Jim coming through and sharing all of the information about what's happening around police violence and so forth. And then me, right? We appreciate that young sister.
Yeah, it's growing, and watching these kids grow, I'm loving the hell out of it.
She was on fire, and of course appreciate Rhino coming through doing the hip hop portion of the show. We just want to give some information. Of course, tomorrow is the funeral services for our beloved elder who went home to be with the Lord. Of course, Ronald C. Rice Sr. The services tomorrow are going to be at the Perry's Funeral Home in Newark on 34 Mercer Street. That's in Newark, right across the street from Arts High School. And services tomorrow are going to start at 10 a.m. Normally, they do a viewing, I would think, before the services start. So those of us, and I'm saying us because I didn't get a chance to get down there this evening because of the show. So those of us who didn't, I would think that we could get down there and pay our respects early in the morning before the services start around 9 o'clock or so. So that's what I'm looking to do, to get down there tomorrow. So that's going to be tomorrow. The services are scheduled to start at 10 a.m. That's Perry's Funeral Home in Newark. And so for me, again, I thank all of y'all, the co-hosts, of course, Donna, Zaid, and of course, DJ Rhino. And our brother John Austin is out with his students doing debate stuff. So he'll be back next week. But of course, we thank y'all for tuning in. This is America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. We'll see y'all back here next Friday, 6 to 9, doing what we do. All right. Until then, peace.
Peace.